We are officially live.
Okay. Rolling. Okay, let's see if I have the option. No, it just says leave. Okay, I'll figure it out later. So I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna mute here.
I picked the wrong thumbnail. I just looked up at it.
Oh, is it the
8? It says 8 o'clock. I'm like, oops, 8 o'clock Eastern. Okay. Well, I just noticed.
wait.
Yeah, well, I'm sure people can look at the amount of time we've been live versus 8 o'clock. Eastern. It's like, what the heck? Were they an hour late? No, I just picked the wrong thumbnail.
Damn it, I wish I could figure out how to stream it. Oh well. See, I only have the leave option in the corner.
Yeah. Yep, that's what mine says in the upper right corner. It says leave in stream. There's also
what if I click on
it? I have cloud record.
Okay, what I'll do is I'll just copy your link and I'll stream it.
There you go.
On StreamYard, no worries. Okay, and then I'll pay attention to chat on your page. Part 2.
I think that's a good size there, and still leaves it. If I move it any more, it wants to flip horizontally.
No worries, I think it looks good.
Of course, I have the watermark over my face, so people are going to think that I'm born with the water.
You know, those pirates will steal your content.
Go ahead, Snapchat me with the watermark.
Well, I have some training to do on this app.
Yeah. Each of them takes time to get used to. I mean, I know when I switched to Restream, it took me probably 2 or 3 months to figure out how to use it, and then the company sold, and then everything went into beta, and that was fun. Just trying to find out where the features were that I already gotten used to and learned how to use. But hello, Pippa. Pippa Dot is with us.
Okay. I am now streaming on my page as well, but I'm just showing your YouTube screen. So,
are you ready?
Hello, Pippa.
First off the bat is just a general understanding. Tonight we'll be answering viewer questions about Chris Watts and the Watts family murders. We ask that everyone remain respectful towards one another throughout the discussions. Each person brings a different level of knowledge, perspective, and understanding to these cases, and respectful dialogue is essential. Please also understand that our discussion in no way intended to disrespect the memories of those lost lives. We are 2 journalists and content creators who, like many of you, are deeply interested in understanding and examining true crime cases and the events surrounding them. Thank you for joining us, for helping us maintain respectful and thoughtful conversation.
Yes, Pippa, we see you. How was your week?
We can definitely see you, Pippa. All right. With that said, the first question from all these questions are from viewers, and they are exactly how they were written. So if there is some grammatical errors or spelling errors, understand that English is not always everyone's first language. So with that said, the first question tonight is: when the missing person report was first filed, what aspect of the case immediately stood out as unusual to you? You want to take that first?
I'm still thinking on it. You can go first.
All right. What stood out to me at first was when Nicole Atkins was at the house and was filing the missing persons report because they couldn't get into the house. They couldn't find Shanann. She wasn't answering her phone. When Chris showed up, his body language immediately was defensive. And he immediately threw up a defensive posture, which is crossing the arms, to the officer while you're standing there talking to him. That is a defensive posture. It's like, hey, don't come at me. I'll push you off. Stay back. Even though the officer was nowhere near him, he was defensive in a defensive posture right away. The next thing that stood out to me was Chris kept on referring to his family in past tense. And that is what I found immediately odd. If your wife is missing and her friend can't find her, and the police are talking to you about trying to figure out what happened to your wife and your children, why are you speaking of them in past tense instead of, hey, maybe they're here,
absolutely,
brainstorming where the hell they were.
Yeah, and immediately when they got in the house, I thought one thing was, well, first off, how late he was to the scene, 45 minutes late. And then, he directly goes into the garage. We think he picked up the ring or a phone in the Lexus. And as soon as he got in the house, not one time did he call out the names of Shanann, Bella, or Cece.
Yeah.
Not once. Even to fake it, like, hey guys, is anyone home?
Right. Yeah, not at all. And I mean, that's all of that together is defensive posture and speaking of a past tense and not even really acting like, they could be in the house. Maybe something happened to Shanann. Maybe she fell down and, the stairs or something. Nothing at all. Not like, hey, Bella, Stacy, nothing. Just, they're gone. And I know they're not coming back.
And even though he said multiple times, like they're at a play date or whatever it may be, I just found even the way he greeted Nicole Atkinson. This is someone who came over on the regular. I really wouldn't call Shanann and her best friends. They were close friends, but a lot of people don't know that actually Nicole was Sandy's boss. And when they were doing hair together, that's how they had a connection to each other. And she wanted Shanann and Nicole to be friends. And at first they didn't really hit it off. She didn't really want to be friends with him. And Sandy was like, will you please keep an eye out, for my daughter? And she's like, sure, of course I will. And then they ended up doing Thrive together and really hit it off and became close friends. I wouldn't really say they were best friends, but, she obviously knew enough about her, like, hey, she wears these flip-flops every day. Her medication's gone. But what I'm getting at with that is the way he greeted Nicole is not the way I would expect him to greet her. I would think he'd give her a hug. I bet they hugged on a regular, you know, and she stopped over, even if it's kind of just like a lame pat on the back hug or something like that. He just totally ignored her.
True. It was distant. But I mean, those to answer the question, that's what the defensive and the past tense for me of his speaking of his family.
Absolutely.
All right, number 2, the second question is, according to a former Thrive sellers, not salesman or whatever, that's how it's worded, Shanann never made the 200,000 point level. How did she make money? So in case you're...
I gotta be honest with you. Well, I wanted you to break down for me. I know you've done videos on this, but I've never been able to see the actual evidence of income being made. So while you're answering this question, if you can kind of hit on that too, for my knowledge and for other people's knowledge.
All right. The way that Thrive worked is you earned so many points depending upon the actual product and the sale price of the item. You earned so many points per dollar. So if you sold $50 worth of the shake product to a customer and that was it, you would earn 1.4 to 1.6 points per dollar. And so it's not an equal points to a dollar ratio. It's not like 1 point equals $1. And what this person is getting at about the 200,000 point level is she needed to maintain the 200,000 point level per month in order to keep the lease for the Lexus. And what they're not understanding is,
$800 a month.
Right. But at the same time, though, and it wasn't just her who needed to sell $800 worth or to get 200,000 points value per month. It was her and her entire downstream of all the people that she had signed up underneath her. Their parts of their points went to Shanann, and just like Shannann's sales, part of her points went upstream to the people who got her into Thrive. So her downline averaged between 90 and 115,000 points per month on average. Now that is, if she, and that's why it's beneficial to every person who signs up in these programs, especially Thrive, to sign up more and more and more people below them. Because after the Lexus, if she had other awards that were above the Lexus itself, there, just like before the Lexus, there were offers, awards that were given to her before she attained the point where she got the Lexus. Now, when it came to her actual income, excuse me, it varied a lot. I mean, widely throughout the entire program. She had some months where she was her and her downline were absolutely killing it, and they were hitting 500, 600,000 points in a month. And then there was the period where it's like, hey, we sold all this stuff to everybody, but they still have the product because it takes time to burn through those products. So the next month, then they would, it would be down, and she wouldn't be able to hit that the 200,000 level of points. So what she would do, and everybody else and everybody below her was encouraged to do this and told to do this as well: buy your own product, buy it, store it, and then sell it, and then you recoup 100% of the resell of that later on. That's why Shanann had so much product in her garage. She would buy low, sell high, just like the stock market. She would buy, okay, this is a hot product. I can get it now at $3 per unit. And a month from now, I can sell it at $5 a product because I know the husbands of who work for Andarco are about to get their year-end bonus a month from now. I'll buy it now, and then in a month, once everybody gets their bonuses at work, the family's gonna have more money, and I can unload this at $5. I'm making $2 per unit profit. So, and
I have to be honest, Will. Do you think she was thinking of it that way, or are you thinking of it that way?
Well, no, I definitely think Shanann was thinking of it that way.
Okay.
But she was a very smart lady, and she had a hell of a business sense about her before she ever got hooked up with Chris, and before the move to Colorado. She was an independent thinker, an independent go-getter young businesswoman from an early age, and she always constantly was looking, how can I improve my life? And when she finally fell into Thrive, you have to remember at the time when she did it, she was kind of like backed up against a wall. She had so much debt, medical debt, and everything else in their lives, and they'd already filed bankruptcy. It was like, I gotta shoot for the moon. If I can make this work, this could help us and get us out of everything. And there were seriously months where everything was clicking and it was working for them all. And as we know, it started to fall apart. Just like any other multiple MLM, only people who really ever really make it are the people at the top. So
yes, like if you've studied this case, you kind of know the names. God, I'm blanking on the first name, but it's like Maloney. Is it Addison? Maybe Addison Maloney. Anyway, beautiful, beautiful girl. Dark hair like Shanann had. And she, I believe, was kind of like higher than Shanann, but still in the same group.
Yeah.
And, they all just, I hate that these MLMs are so focused on having the best of everything and keeping up with the Joneses, because that really played into a lot of the issues I feel in this marriage personally.
But they loved, and something that not only Thrive, but you can go back with Avon and Mary Kay and Tupperware.
Rue, those shirts that she'd wear, the like stretchy shirts. Yeah, the 31 purses.
Yeah.
She did a lot of, those. I wish personally that Shanann would have stuck to the nursing career. I think in the long run, that would have made her bank.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, there's a lot of things that I think, she could have, with her personality and her her personality, her outgoing attitude, and wanting to communicate and be around a lot of people. If Thrive didn't work, nursing would have been in her calling. And I think at the same time, and the way that the state of Colorado is booming, I think she could have made a killing in real estate.
Yes. Yeah.
But
I didn't even really think about that avenue.
I was going to say about the Mary Kay, Tupperware, Avon. They really love to pray, and they want to bring in as many women like Shanann, who are mothers, number one, of young children. And they pitch them a idea of not only taking care of themselves, but their family, and how beneficial it is to their children, that they can have an independent life away from their husbands. They pitch that so hard. And look what
and also having this flexible schedule. When I look at it, I don't feel that Shanann really had a flexible schedule. I feel like she was working more than a 40-hour week.
Oh, yeah.
Because she was constantly probably putting in her notepad pitches, or when she was out at the store and people would say, "What's your patch?" Like, that's the kind of job when you're not off the clock, right? Like, your patch is on, you need to answer the questions. Or you're at a barbecue and this is a time to meet new people. You're at the beach. Here's a great, opportunity. I feel like she kind of got duped into thinking she had more freedom when really it took a lot more away from her.
Well, I mean,
and all of these companies do it. It's not just Thrive, right? And it's not just Shanann either.
We could throw YouTube in there. It looks so easy from the outside, and look at these people. If people, they can name, 5 to 10, big, YouTubers like Mr. Beast or whoever it might be, and they're rolling in the dough and they've got Lamborghinis. But when in all actuality, less than 2% of all YouTube creators will ever, get past, I think it's 26,000 subscribers, or be successful to the point where they could quit a full-time job. It's not as easy as it looks.
Very time consuming too.
Right? We were just talking about this before the stream.
Yeah. I mean, we're constantly I probably bug you and think more about it, because I feel like you have more of an edge up on me. You've been doing this longer, and I'll second guess myself and I'll be like, what the hell am I doing wrong? And it's not easy. So anyone out there, if you're trying to start a YouTube page, it takes time. Don't beat yourself up like I do.
Right. Well, you're not bugging me. I'm more than willing to help you. I actually get a lot more enjoyment out of helping people, start, because I truly, truly believe that every one of us has a voice. And if we're going to have a platform to be able to voice, our opinions, our voices, why not be, be YouTube more so than any other platform out there. So, all right. Question number 3.
I just realized. Oops. Muted you.
What was the actual house payment without the fees or HOA fees? I've got this one. Okay. The real house payment was $2,750 a month. However, for the 5 months prior to Chris killing the family, they were paying $3,360 a month. And that was to catch up the arrears on it, plus fees and stuff like that. They had applied for a program called forbearance, and they were denied because of their bankruptcy and past credit history. So it was either go this route by making extra payments on top of their normal house payment for the last 5 months, or the bank was going to, foreclose, because they were already behind in the HOA fees. They were behind on the taxes. They were behind on the payments, and it was coming to that point. One more falter, and that was it. And you can bet that there was probably quite a few late night conversations between the two of them when they
just a few. Just a few.
I mean, hopefully it didn't cross the lines into it's your fault or your fault kind of thing, but it probably did on more than one occasion of how they got there. And when it comes,
but I also don't think he ever had the guts. If he thought, we talked about this last week. If he were to say something to her like, "Hey, Shanann, you spend too much shopping," or I just don't think he ever had the guts to say that to her, even if he wanted to.
No, definitely not. And likewise, she probably called him out on his shit quite a bit, and all of that bottled up inside of him, and it played out in the end.
Breakfast sandwiches at McDonald's every morning. I'm sure he just he just kind of seems like the person who would just randomly spend something on whatever, you know, like, oh, I see that, I like it, I'm gonna buy it.
And demand for having the top of the line, you know, work equipment. Couldn't show up in a pair of boots that
Right.
she, you know, got him from, you know, Payless shoe store or Walmart. It had to be Red Wings. It had to be the best of the best in workwear, you know.
Yeah, the Ariat is not cheap.
Yeah.
I went to like one of those rural stores up in Michigan and I found that brand and I fell in love with it. And so I was kind of pissed when I saw Chris Watts wearing it. I'm like, damn it, why did you have to ruin it for me? But like a shirt, that shirt he was wearing when he arrived home, minimum $95 on the tag for that.
Yeah.
Minimum.
Just to wear it to work and get it ruined.
Yeah, and get it dirty with oil stains. And
I've worked in the chemical industry before, and I worked in an actual manufacturing plant, and trust me, you get that stuff on you, it ain't coming out.
No,
there is no magic, you know, 20 mules plus, you know, a cap full of, you know, of something else that's going to take that stuff out. It is what it is. It's ruined. All right, question.
And also the day he showed up. Yeah. Oh no, go ahead. I was just going to say the day he showed up, yeah, he was dressed a little sloppy, but they said he was still put together. And I remember one of the coworkers and the manager said he was always very well kept, always.
And that was one of the things that Shannon told, you know, in one of her Facebook things that first caught her attention in the office trailer when he came in, was that everybody else was, you know, wearing tattered clothes and, you know, and he was dressed perfectly. So,
yeah.
All right. Question number 4. Looking back on interviews with investigators and his behavioral indicators, do you believe he was lying?
Not in the beginning, to be honest with you. I think he was a great liar. I think Chris knew he was going to get away with this because one of the things that stands out to me is he goes, ask anybody about me. I'm an honest guy. I'm not lying to you.
Right.
And if you asked his friends, they would have said the same. But as time went on, yeah, then you could start to see he was lying. But when you first started watching the first 30 minutes, Will, what were your thoughts? And we're talking about the FBI interview, right? We're not talking about the porch interview.
Right. I mean, because obviously he was lying there, but
right.
When he was when he was talking with the investigators, I don't think I don't know what he was thinking, you know, 100%, but I kind of base what my opinion on what somebody who is a pathological liar like him would do. And he has been, you have to think about his entire life leading up to this point, before the murders and then the murders, and now he's sitting in front of investigators who are going to call him out on his shit. Mm-hmm. And he's always put on the persona of somebody bigger and better than anyone else. I can do this job better than you. I know more than you. I have these skills. I am better and bigger and better, you know, have the opportunities to advance more than you will. Because, well, and I think a lot of that was growing up, his mother, you know, and his father, you know, instilled that in him, and, you know, rightfully so. I mean, I instilled that in my kids. You know, you're better. Just go for it. As long as you keep on trying, you know, you'll get it. I guess you could call it the fake it till you make it, but whatever, you know. But Chris he found that if he couldn't get to that point where he was bigger and better, in something than someone else, he just told them, other people he was. But with that said, do I think that he was lying to the investigators? I think he was thinking on his feet, even though he's sitting. He was thinking, what is next, before they ever asked the question. So I don't think he was lying.
Yeah.
I think he was trying to play the game out faster than it needed to go, and that's a lot of people in that situation. That's what trips them up, is they can't remember what they said 10 minutes ago. And investigators and in interrogation, they know this, and they want to be ahead of the individual and then go around and ask the same question, but ask the same question in a different way. Phrase it differently. Bring it up as in context of something else to see if they can go back and remember what the answer was. So, but I don't think he was necessarily lying. He was just trying to play a game with them.
I could tell during the point when, I cannot remember the exact name for it. You may know the name for it. The tactic when Coder would use silence. Mm-hmm. Do you remember what that's called? It's like an uncomfortable silence where it gets the person to speak. Right. And shit, did he fall for that? Yeah. He couldn't stand the silence, and he would just start regurgitating shit that, like, I had a sandwich that morning, or, whatever. I can't remember. Is it the Reed tactic, or I can't remember the name of it, but he really bombed that one for sure.
Yeah. Okay. Question number 5. Follow-up. This is a follow-up from last week's question. How do you know Chris used the work truck for personal uses? Is there any evidence that he did? Yeah, a lot of evidence that he did. I'll give you a couple more examples, and in case you didn't hear or catch last week's stream. First off, the number one thing that that proves that he used the work truck for personal reasons is every morning on the way to work, he stopped and ran errands and got himself breakfast and an energy drink on the way to work every single day. That's all caught and still somewhere out there on the YouTube or the internet somewhere, the CCTV footage. Additionally, last week I pointed out that when he went and picked up the quad runner and trailer from Denver, they put down the plate. They wrote down the plate number on the paperwork, and then Chris signed it. He took the work truck to Denver to pick up the the trailer and the quad runner. Additionally, here's a couple more examples. On the girls' actual school, they listed the plate number for Shane Ann's car and for his work truck for vehicles that were approved to be in the parking lot to drop the girls off and to pick the girls up. Additionally, on top of that, he, according to Mary, I don't know what her last name is, but she spoke with Fox 31 in an interview around the time that after Chris was arrested, that said that Chris often stopped in to pick up pizzas they didn't have a delivery service at this pizza place. It was either dine in or pick up, carry out kind of thing. And she remembered him stopping there often in a white truck, which is his work truck. So yeah, there is a lot of evidence that he used his work truck for personal reasons and not just for business. Again, everyone did it at least those who were close to Chris and worked in his actual department, I guess you could call it, who worked in technicians or worked in the actual tank area. They knew how to turn the GPS off. All it was removing a fuse. That was it, and they knew it. Somebody taught or told them how to do it, and they knew it, and they did it, and they used the truck for whatever they wanted. So that's a follow-up for that one from last week. All right, next is an interesting fact. I spread these out throughout the entire thing because I think that we need to put more context into the not only the relationship between Christopher Watts and Shanann, but context into what is going on in relationships like this. Nope, went past it. Oh, deadline crime. Sorry, first, this one is just for you. Then I'll give you the interesting fact. After covering such a difficult case like this, how do you cope with the impact of a case like this? This is just for you. How do you cope with a case like this emotionally? I guess
I was kind of already in that point where I am used to seeing things and hearing things like this and reading reports like this. And I really don't know how to explain this, but I feel like it's going to sound really weird, but there's a part of your brain, I feel like everyone in this business can almost shut it off, shut the emotion off, where this isn't real unless you're physically there covering the story and feeling the emotions from the people there, I think is a good way to describe it. Reading a report and reading Discovery and watching it on television is so much different for me personally than when I am face to face interviewing someone. I think if this were a case I covered here in Atlanta, I would have been really traumatized by it. And I can tell you that because I remember in Atlanta reading a report, and it was not even close to this. It was just about a young 6-year-old girl who was abducted in an apartment building by the maintenance worker, and just the things he did to her. I remember just reading that report and going home for like 3 nights in a row, and just I couldn't get out of my head what I read, and I knew that was real. And meeting those people and seeing their faces, when you see it in your face, it's so much more real. But when you're reading a report, I feel like it doesn't impact you as much. So but don't get me wrong, when I started studying this case, I felt really dark for the first 2 weeks. I don't know if anything like that happened to you, Will, but like I just had this weird, dark eeriness. And I remember telling myself, okay, I'm not going to cover this anymore. I'm not going to cover this. And then something made me feel like, but the victims matter. The victims matter. You have to talk about it, or else shit like this could happen again. So then I continued to kind of push through it and realized there's more to the story than just the gritty, horrid details of what Chris Watts did. And there's lessons to be learned too for everyone.
It is. I know the question was just for you, but I'll give you my perspective on this as well. Just like you,
I was asking for it anyway.
just like you said, I compartmentalize the entire case. If I let cases like this, and I know that this is horrific, and it's horrific what he did to his daughters. That part, what he did to Bella and Cece, is the part that if you don't find some way to deal with it emotionally and and understand, you have to say, okay, look, this is what this guy did, and find a way to separate yourself from that emotional feeling of the trauma of what it was like for the last moments of their lives. you shouldn't be anywhere near true crime at all, because I mean it'll eat you apart. Yeah. So I found a long time ago, because I have a great mentor who before I ever started, well, I made a couple videos, but he talked me through it, and he made it sure to stress to me, a couple of things, but the one thing overall was, you have to find a way, regardless if anyone likes what you're doing, that that you did your best, and that you can lay your head down at the end of the night and not feel like you left something on the table and you didn't address it, you didn't do your due diligence to research it, and you found a way to not let it eat you apart. Because if you do, you shouldn't be doing this at all. So
right,
that's my take on and yeah, I mean, when it came to the Watts case and the murders, I have tried, and I'll say it again, I wish I never heard of this case. I wish I never would have covered it. There's so many aspects of it that were so vile and disgusting, that came from the other side, and those people had a bigger voice and a bigger audience than I ever will have. And people just kept on shoveling money at these people, on that side. And here I am doing everything I could to make sure that the facts were right and everything else was done right, just to watch people. Here we are all these years later, they still believe the sound bites from these people. Yeah. What can you do? I mean, I did my part. And
I know. I still struggle with that today. I do. But like you just said, if you can lay your head down on the pillow and say, I did the best I could, whether it's on broadcast TV, a podcast, or YouTube, that's really all that matters. And I also always have this theory. We used to joke about it in the newsroom. Anyone who can go into this business is a little crazy. I'm not saying I'm not.
The general public will roast you, and the moment you open your mouth.
Yeah, there's a little. I mean, there's a little bit something off about all of us who go into this business.
Completely off topic, but you had sent me a text message asking me, hey, have you ever thought about doing voiceover work?
Yes.
So today, this is completely off topic. I'm in Ace Hardware store, and I'm buying. It was a bottle of 409, cleaner, and a hose clamp. Random stuff, because that's why I go to a hardware store, anyways. And the lady, who's checking me out, she's like, "You have such a cool voice. Have you ever thought about doing television or radio?" I'm like, I have a friend who just said something like that to me.
Yeah. I thought you were going to tell me you were like reading the label out loud, and someone was going to be like, will you do a commercial for me?
She's just a clerk behind the counter, and I've never seen her before. I've seen just about everybody who works there. And the lady who was, standing next to her in a line over from, like 2 aisles next to each other, she goes, "Doesn't he just have a really cool voice?" And I'm like, "Oh, thanks."
You do. You just have a good cadence, and you carry a story well. Even if it's a boring topic, I feel like you can make it interesting, and that's hard to do.
I think maybe I missed my true calling, being in radio. I enjoyed my time, doing radio, but I don't think I'll ever go back to it though. All right, we should move on to next one. All right, so here.
I do want to comment on Pippa's comment about, is this a fundraiser? No, we're not doing any fundraising. However, if you want to like throw out money to Will's PayPal for a coffee or something, awesome. Otherwise, we recommend donating to St. Jude, the Lupus Foundation, and the Missing Exploited Children Foundation, because the Watts family, not the Watts family, well, both the families, the Brusick and the Watts family, have not set up any foundation in the name of the victims. So if you see that out there, it's fake.
But at the beginning of the stream tonight, I put the Lupus Foundation link for fundraising for that and for muscular sclerosis. So
okay. Awesome.
I wanted to put them as a scroll at the bottom, but it would not. It kept on telling me that these are unapproved links. If I want them to be approved links, I need to upgrade, what my subscription is for my streaming software. I'm like, really? That's really nice.
Maybe that's why I can't restream. Also, like, I do feel we probably would have had more people in if I was streaming on my platform this evening too, but I couldn't figure out how to do it without having an echo, because StreamYard, I tried to do that. But anyway, I'll get it figured out. Maybe I need to upgrade, which is fine. I'm willing to pay like $10-$15, but StreamYard,
everybody wants to reach into our wallets, when it comes to doing what everybody demands be free. I want it for free, but you can pay all the money you have to do it for me for free. But interesting side fact, globally, 60% of international homicides against women and girls are committed by an intimate partner or family member. 60%.
It's crazy.
Question number 7. What lessons from the Watts investigation have influenced how you investigate or report on missing person cases? I'll go first.
Yeah, go for it. And then, this question made me think of something today that's been on my mind a lot. I'll let you go first, though.
I've become very jaded. I do not believe. Immediately, the moment that somebody comes out and says, he was just in the front yard, and I turned my back for a minute, and he was just gone. And the first thing that always pops in my head every time I see, and trust me when I tell you, on a weekly basis, I have 20 to 30 cases of missing people who pop across my screen, or stories of, some teenager, or young adult has disappeared, and they've been gone for 9 days and nobody knows where they are. And the last one is a picture of a boyfriend with tattoos from his forehead to his ankles. And doesn't look like a really trustworthy individual. But the first thing I judge it on is, what does that individual have to say? And I'm sorry, but I automatically have that jaded, I don't trust anyone. And the first thing that, after that, the next thing that pops into my head is Michael Vaughn. The Michael Vaughn case pops into my head over and over and over again. In case you guys don't remember who Michael Vaughn is, that's Monkey Vaughn. Yeah. His nickname was Monkey, and he pops into my head over and over again about the investigation into him disappearing. And then they interviewed the lady who actually took him, and she sounded like, hey, well, I don't know what happened to him. She knew. He was dead, and they buried him in the backyard, and then they moved his body. But she sounded very, very trustworthy and straight, like a straight shooter. Like, I don't know what happened to him, but I'm helping. She actually showed up for all of the searches and everything else. So, jaded. I don't believe him. I don't believe anybody.
Well, to piggyback on, also I want to let you know, thank you, Pippa, for sending Will some jewels and a puppy dog. That's very kind of you.
Thank you. I see that.
exactly what you just said, to piggyback on it. It's something that I've been thinking about a lot today because, you know, when you always are going to go live on this case, sometimes you like go back and you watch clips, and I feel like you could watch these interviews and every time you're going to hear something you didn't hear the first time. And here's something that's really resonated with me this week as we have prepared for this live stream. Chris never in that first interview admitted to killing the girls. And guess what was on the nightly news at 10 p.m. that night? That he fucking killed the whole family. And he never said that in the interrogation room. And that's where you're getting your source from, and you want to trust your source, right? Is your PIO. Right. And a PIO, you guys, if you don't know this, is a public information officer. I'm not saying it came from a PIO. What I think happened is a reporter knows someone in the office and maybe sent a phone call, a text, or what. I doubt even a text in 2018, maybe, I don't know, and said he just confessed to everything. And they trust this person so much that they ran with it on the news when he actually didn't confess to killing the kids. And it made me just think, like, exactly what you said. Until you go to the source, until you shove a microphone in front of Chris Watts' face and ask him, did you kill your kids? You really shouldn't run with it. I mean, you have to, because you're going live at 10 o'clock and they want an update, but they were wrong technically. Yeah. And something I noticed on Tammy Lee's profile, because did you know they do these tours now? Her and Coder do these tours where they talk about this case and how they got him to confess and blah, 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 blah. In the bio of Tammy Lee's description, it doesn't mention the kids. It only mentions Shanann. Yeah. And I've been thinking about that a lot this week. It's like, as a journalist, you're told, check your sources, you know, make sure it's someone that's trusted. And I'm sure that before the 10 o'clock news, they trusted their source. And I would love to see a press release and look back on that. I haven't looked, I haven't dug it up, but I wonder what the most recent press release was that evening or that next morning. And they told Chris and they told Ronnie it wouldn't hit the papers and it wouldn't hit the media. And usually that means we're not going to write a press release about it, which they very well maybe didn't, but that doesn't mean information doesn't get leaked out by, I don't care if you're a damn janitor that works at the police station, you know, and you are friends with a reporter and you're like, hey, I'm in the hallway and I heard everybody talking. He just totally confessed to killing everybody. And they feel like, hey, I know Bob, he wouldn't lie to me, and they run with it. It's like, I've been thinking about that a lot this week.
I have an entire Rolodex, an actual physical Rolodex. Now, in case you youngins out there don't have an idea what a Rolodex is, it's little pieces of paper on a plastic or metal roll. You have index cards on with letters, and you can turn it, and then you can find people's names and contacts. Yeah.
Alphabetically.
I still have a Rolodex of people, you know, that I use for investigations into cases in different walks of life, you know, and so on. I started the whole thing off as a Rolodex for a completely different reason, but I still keep it, you know, in actual hard copy in case like the computers and everything else crash, that I can keep in contact with people. You never know who's going to come in handy down the road. Yeah. That janitor, like you said, in the police department, that sanitation worker, you never know.
I mean, you know what I'm talking about, though, right? That first night, he never did confess to killing the kids, and the media ran with it.
But and when it comes to the news, television, I mean, it's a cutthroat business. You either get that lead story and you get it out first, or the other one's going to scoop you for next.
Yeah, and then you're going to get reamed out by your news director the next day.
That's cutthroat. It's like, you got to have that, like what was it, Dire Straits that said, nothing sells better than a head on the television, on the evening news or something to that effect. You got to have that, that lead story.
I'm going to find what I'm talking about and I'll figure it out and I'm going to text it to you because I did find it very interesting that her bio is legally correct to not get her in trouble, But anyway, to answer this question, it's kind of like you said, I don't trust anyone until I ask them myself anymore. And I would be like, just like the reporters did when he was walking in for his first appearance. One reporter screamed at him, "Chris, why did you kill your children?" And another one said, "What did you confess to?" And those are two very different questions, aren't they?
Well, I get a kick out of what is missing from the second interview with Chris when he did admit to killing Shannon.
In Wisconsin?
The context of what is missing. You have to take the first one, the second one, and then later at the interview in Dodge Correction Center with the FBI and the CBI. If you put them all together and you put them all side by side, you can kind of get the entire picture a little bit, but you don't get the whole thing. Even then.
No.
He's not going to tell anybody the whole truth. Ever. He's an habitual liar.
Yeah. I mean, you're right. You're never really going to get the true story. And a lot of people, I'm not saying I do, but a lot of people to this day still think that maybe his first confession was his real confession. And he was so stupid that he hit a bot. And that's why I always say, I feel like if Nicole Kessinger was involved, she wouldn't have been dumb enough to be like, yeah, let's fucking put them in oil tanks out at your job site. I don't know. I feel like she would have some better idea.
Yeah, and then that's one of the things about Chris in killing his family. He didn't have an exit plan. Most family annihilators do not have an exit plan long term because they know that they plan to be the last in the I've killed the family. I'm going to kill myself. For some reason, I still to this day question, why didn't he? What was it?
I have a question for you. Now that you just said the line the way you did, do you think it's a coincidence that Nicole Kessinger texted him the lyrics to that Battery song? What are your thoughts on
Metallica?
that? Yes. Why randomly the first text of the morning is about a Metallica song and the Batteries? Just coincidence or what?
Yeah. I think more coincidence than anything else. I don't think that there was something that it had a deeper meaning for him for the two of them. I know that Chris had always been a Metallica fan.
A Metallica fan.
And she probably picked up on that, and she thought that if she texted him that, he would know what it is right away, and it would make him happy. Thinking of her, she's thinking of him, kind of thing. But all right, let's move on to question number 8. Were there any common misconceptions reported by the media or discussed online that differ from what the investigators uncovered?
I think you could go along with Nicole Kessinger, honestly, on this. I don't know. I immediately thought of her when I read when you read me this question. That like immediately someone thinks a mistress is involved. Always, I feel like.
Yeah, I think like any high-profile case, there's a lot of misconceptions that are reported by adjacent outlets than from the mainstream media.
Yes.
And they can run with a lot more. And people say, so you have your mainstream media, like your ABCs, NBCs, Fox, your PBS, stuff like that. That's your mainstream media. And then you have things like, TMZ, World News, Entertainment Tonight. People still see them as news, and they take them as they have the same standards, the same journalistic standards as everybody else. Oh, they do not. But people still see them, and is unbelievable as it is. According to the last year, 2025, when it comes to news that people are consuming now on their phone, they're getting these little sound bites and little clips from shorts videos on reels off of Facebook, and they're getting their 60-second videos from YouTube and from TikTok in places, and they're taking it as the story. That is everything.
Yeah, that's all of it. Or you see a photo, which could be AI generated, and it's true. It's true. I mean, like, I joke with my mom, and we have this joke. I just say, I'll just text seniors, and she gets it. It's just, there's this certain age group that has no idea that AI even exists. And just because they see a picture of it, it's fucking real. Because there's a picture of it. It's real. And I'll be like, no, Mom, that's not real. You like, and I'll pull up Chat GPT and be like, give me a picture of you. I'll make you look like you're golfing. And it's like, oh my God.
It is going to get a lot worse. A lot worse than it is now.
I was on I was on TikTok today, Will, and I hate to say this because I know it's brought a lot of people together and it sparks creativity. But I said to myself, I almost wish this was banned when it was supposed to get banned in the United States. I know that's terrible, but I'm looking at it from a point of view as everyone thinks that they are a journalist now just because
there are according to YouTube, there are over 1,100 different YouTube channels that call themselves News 5, News 7, Channel 7, 17 News, whatever. And that's the name of the channel. They have no degree, no experience, no job knowledge, nothing. They've never been a beat writer. They've never been a cameraman, a sound person, anything at all in the control room. They have nothing, no experience at all. And they call themselves journalists.
Yeah. Or some of them do go out there with a camera, but they still don't, call them like that JLR investigates dude. Don't even get me started on that. Those are the channels that piss me off. When they've just got tons of subscribers, they started out by stealing content from mainstream media, but then they got the idea, okay, if I go buy a camera and I go out to the scene and look like I fit in, then I fit in. And it worked for them.
They'll even make up, bogus press credentials.
Yep. Because there's really no such thing as a press credential. It's your badge to buzz into work. And a lot of people don't know that. And one of my favorite investigative reporters is Charlie LaDuff. I don't know if you've ever heard of him, but he used to work in Detroit. He wrote a book, and he used to work for the New York Times, I believe. And he said, we made these fake press credentials. And he said, we took our work badge and we just took the picture and wrote press, and we printed it and put it through a laminator. And that was their press pass.
I've seen ones that are even worse than that. They don't even have the word press on it. Yeah, I've got two or three, different press, passes back here, but they're not press credentials.
Yeah.
And that is something a lot of people don't understand. Is these people show up at news scenes, car accidents, whatever it might be, and they try to flash these things like, the law enforcement is going to go like, okay, you can be here in this area, but not the general public. It's like, do you know who these people are? I mean, I have worked as a stringer. In case you don't know what a stringer is, it's somebody who works adjacent to mainstream media, getting either video or research or whatever it is on a certain, case that mainstream media is covering. And that is an actual real job. And I've worked in this area for so long.
I'm grabbing a refill. Will
I have seen so many people with fake press credentials or passes or badges, that say that they are with, Cairo Television or whatever, ABC affiliate, but they keep on, saying that they belong in an area that they should gain access to something that they never should be anywhere near because it's not safe for them. But I've seen it with the, flak jackets to say press on, have a press, pass on it, or the name press on it. They're not press, not at all. But they keep on showing up everywhere. In my local area, on Facebook, that I know for a fact, I have probably 10 different individuals who say that they are, media, and you can call them civil, journalists or, whatever, but they're not real journalists at all. None of these people have ever gone to school. They have no degrees, no experience. And a lot of them they started off as like auditors. They want to get in the face of the law enforcement, EMTs. They want to catch that ha moment in video, but they will do anything to provoke it. And then they'll clip everything to the point where it looks like that officer violated their rights, or that EMT, person just came out of the back of an ambulance and just starts swinging on them when they were, up pounding on the door and demanding to know why they have someone on a gurney, and that person came out to get them away from the vehicle so they can treat the person inside. But they clip it to the point where it just looks like someone walking up and they, all of a sudden an EMT worker comes out swinging on them, because that's the 60 seconds that they need. So, all right, question number 9. Ooh, do you have a comment? If you have a comment, please, our question, put it in the comment section now. Question number 9. This case received intense international media attention as 2 journalists. How well do you feel investigators did balancing public needs with protecting integrity of the investigation? Oh, that's a good one.
It is a good one. Well, I think my brain immediately goes to, it's Colorado. So we know that Colorado has a history of botching cases.
Oh, yeah, there's a couple high-profile ones that they kind of, dropped the ball on, I guess you could say.
Like, for example, the moment, and I understand this is a small town, but I feel like it always starts in a small town, doesn't it? It is a small town. It's quiet here. Nothing like this ever happens here. That's the soundbite you always hear. And so the moment the officers arrive on scene at Chris's house, I don't care if you're being hyper vigilant, but no one should have been allowed in that house.
Yeah.
You've got people fucking up a crime scene immediately. No one ever wants to really talk about that, but that was the first thing I noticed. You got your fingerprints. I mean, and I'm not saying that Nicole Atkinson did anything intentionally, right? But it's the officer's fault for saying, no, ma'am, we can't have you go in there. But thank God she did go in there because she found the cell phone. I don't think we would have found a lot of shit if she didn't go in there. We wouldn't have known the purse was on the table because Chris wouldn't have brought it up. We wouldn't know the medication's not in the purse, the cell phone, and he maybe probably wouldn't even brought up the wedding ring. You know, he would have probably just looked around and been like, yeah, you guys can look around if you want. But ideally, they should have said, ma'am, this is a crime scene. You are not allowed to come in here. We can't have your fingerprints all over the place.
At very least, treat it as a possible crime scene and not let anyone in at all. But, I mean, I understand where Nicole, Atkins was coming from in that situation. She's extremely worried. Her friend was supposed to go to, her appointment for the baby. So I understand that. She wants to come in there. She wants to look around. She wants to turn over every goddamn pillow, mattress, and everything looking for her. But
I think her intuition too also knew if something happened to Shanann, it wasn't a stranger. They just spent the entire weekend talking about her husband may have been having an affair. They were looking up the menu at the Lazy Dog. Whether I think if you asked Nicole today, right now, did you have an idea it was him? I think she'd say no, and I think she'd be honest. But I think her gut intuition knew he did something.
I think maybe that was what that question we had earlier was trying to get at. Maybe for you was how do you personally deal with it? And what was your thought on it? Maybe they were looking at what or trying to ask, but they did not directly ask it. Was it as your woman's intuition? Did you feel that he was lying? I don't know. I can't read into it. I am.
No, because
what their question was, but
yeah, but no, looking around, he seemed like here's the thing that Chris Watts, I guess you would say, had on me in this case. I didn't watch the media interview when I got into this case. I immediately went and requested my own reports and go straight to the source. I didn't want to watch media. I was just like, no, I'm going to do my own research. So you do your own research, and what do you find? You find this guy who's like, I can't find my wife, blah, 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 blah. I didn't watch the porch interview until later. Then when I saw the porch interview, I was like, oh my God, this dude is so guilty. I reversed it. I watched interrogation, then porch interview.
See, you have the right mindset there. Is
yeah, I don't want to screw around.
Well, just like an investigator, let the facts tell you where the case is going. Don't come to a conclusion. Let the facts lead you to where you need to go. So.
But here's the crazy thing too, Will. I can tell you, I've probably watched that interview 12 times, maybe more than that. I don't even want to admit that because that's such a waste of life. It really is. But for the first time, I'd say 2 weeks ago, I realized in that first interview, he never confessed to killing the kids and the media ran with it. It didn't really click right away. I was like, because eventually he did confess, right? So you don't really like that gap closed really quick. But if you're backtracking and trying to look at it in the timeline that things happened, it's like, whoa, 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 we skipped a part here. Thank you for sending Will the MVP jewels. Oh. I don't know anything about the prizes and the gifts on here, but it is appreciated.
That is Joe Tallchief. Thank you very much, Joe Tallchief. All right. Question number 10. Follow-up again. My understanding of the GPS data is lacking. How did her truck show up at the house, but not her? Cell data. All right.
This is Kessinger, right?
Nicole Kessinger's truck. First off, her truck does not have GPS.
Yeah, I was just about to say she didn't have a work truck. She's a contractor, right?
And she had a Toyota pickup, gray with a very distinctive factory decal down the side. It's like 3 stripes together. But anyways, good old Betty across the street from the house is the one that said, "Yeah, I saw it that night, that morning."
With a it had a camper on top.
She was so confused on what vehicle she was looking at and when she saw it, because she.
Do you think she saw Nicole's car?
Well, I think she saw 2 different vehicles that were parked on the street, and the one that was Nicole's, she misidentified the date because she connected when she saw it, according to the investigators in her statement, is she saw it there at a certain time, but she based that on when she was going to the gym rehabbing from her shoulder surgery. So they were interviewing her on one day, and she said yes, it was the other day, but what she didn't understand was it was actually the next day after is when they talked to her. So it would have been a day after. So she was thinking, okay, oh yeah, I saw that yesterday, and the murder didn't take place that day. It took place the day before, 2 days. So at the very least, she saw it the day before Shanann got home. At the latest that the vehicle could have been there. But anyways, it doesn't matter. She still misidentified the day of when the vehicle could have been there. When it comes to the GPS data, again, it's the triangulation of the data from the towers. There are 3 different towers, and then there are 2 different sub towers that are within this actual city of Frederick itself that were her signal was pinging off of one tower. That substation is a lot closer to Chris's house, and that's what people are like, ha. That means that she was there. She wasn't there. That would have put her about a half a mile into the desert away from the house. But they're like, she had to be within this circumference of that relay tower. So yeah, that in that circumference, if you draw a circle around it, that would have been brought in Chris's house and part of that neighborhood into it. But otherwise, she would have been in the desert. She wasn't in the desert. She wasn't anywhere around the day he killed, Shanann and the girls. But
well, let me ask you this, Will. And I realized today, I said to myself, I never asked Will his opinion on what, and you don't have to share it if you don't want to, but if you're willing to share it, what do you think she was doing that morning? Because she didn't clock in till 2:30 or 2:15 p.m. And I know she had company. She had gym. So, like, why wouldn't you just take the whole day off if you had a friend in town?
She could have.
What do you think she was doing that morning?
Well, I think she slept in. I don't think she got up like she normally did. Like she told investigators. She didn't get up right away. Probably, and I don't know what her timeline was, but then she probably hung out for a little bit, relaxed. Didn't expect Chris until later in the day, anyways. If he was going to come over, um, she
But they were already right. Okay, so they were because I was trying to think of this too. Because I always tell people I don't think she was involved, and then they'll grill me with this question, and I'm like, well, I don't really have an answer. My only thought is maybe she was hungover and she was partying with Jim and didn't get up early, like you said.
She could have been, I don't know if she was hungover. She doesn't strike me as a big drinker. She does drink. Chris, not so much. Maybe he should have spent more time drinking, and it would have, he would have killed his wife and kids. But
Right.
I think she slept in, and then she just kind of like lounged around the house because she knew she didn't have anything else going on that day. And she didn't have to take she could have taken the day off. True. Um,
Yeah.
I don't know I know everybody with the company got a certain amount of PTO, personal time off, but I have no idea what her personal time off was and how much she had. Did she have to go to work? I mean, I don't know on that aspect, so I can't really answer on it.
Right.
I guess this is the best way to put it. I really
Right.
don't
Like some
know.
companies are kind of
I know she was
right, because she's a contractor.
I know she wasn't anywhere near the house, and I know she couldn't have taken the battery out of her phone, so it would have went dead, and then she could have went to the house. So
I feel like if she would just answer that question, a lot of people would leave the whole thing alone,
I don't think so.
honestly.
I think if I had Nicole on here right now with us, the three of us, and she answered every question that everyone in the world had, I think they would still question everything about her.
What would your first question be for her? I've gotten told I look like her.
No.
I have been told that I sound like her
No.
and look like
No, yeah, you don't. But whoever says that to you, just brush it off. But anyways,
shit. Well, I get a lot in the comments. I just laugh it off. It's funny to me. I said, okay, cool. Book me for a movie role. Let me know when Ryan Murphy is doing a movie on this. I'm Nicole.
What was the question again?
The question is, if you had the opportunity to interview her, what would maybe? Okay, I'll give you 3 questions to ask her.
Guarantee none of them are the question I want to ask her. But go ahead. You got 3 questions. I'll answer them.
No, I want you to come up with what are 3 questions you would ask.
First one, right off the bat. When did you know he was married? That's the very first question. She had access to the personnel records, and she would have known who his dependents were and who, if he was married or not. She would have known that long before she ever said hello to him and started flirting with him at work. She would have known that. That would be the first question I would ask. Second question is, when you went on this little camping vacation with Chris, who idea was it? That's the second question. I know that sounds very mundane, like, why would it matter? She already knows that he's married, and they're already in a sexual relationship at that point. But my question is, with that number 2 is, whose idea was it to go on this vacation together, all right, to the sand dunes where they went, sand surfing, whatever you call it? That'd be the second question. And the third question is, do you feel bad about being in a relationship and how the outcome of this relationship ended? That'd be my 3 questions. I can come up with probably 5 or 6 more off the top of my head for her right off the bat. That is if I have to, throw a wild card out there for number 4 is, after Chris, why did you get in a relationship with another married man? Why? There are millions of single men out there. At Andarko alone, 51% of all of the men who worked for Andarko were single. Why did she zero in on Chris, who was married with children? So that was,
when she is on talking, I don't know if it was I think it was Kevin Kovac. She talks about, I want to get in touch with your social worker so I can talk about getting some therapy for the, do you remember that when they were going to offer her therapy? I guarantee you that was all for show. And that woman doesn't seem open to therapy at all to me.
Well,
I don't think she had a lick of therapy for this.
There are more conversations with the Frederick Police Department with Nicole Kessinger that are not on video, that they had by phone, and they met in person where it wasn't video or audio recorded, and because they had follow-up questions after her sit-down interview. So and I have fought I have fought for years to get transcripts of that, but the entire thing is kind of like, no. Not only are we not going to give it to you, but the whole thing is sealed. They've lumped it all into, because the Roost-Checks and the Watts family do not want all this released. We have sealed the entire case, and investigation on what's happened to the physical evidence and the interviews and all of it is sealed.
Do you think it's like actually sealed? Like, this is where my mind goes, and I'm sure, honestly, Will, you've thought of this.
It is
I thought
sealed.
to myself, how desperate could a journalist be to try to get a job at the DA's office just to fucking get in there and break in and find the files? And I'm like picturing, is it actually in a file somewhere? Or does DA Rourke take it home every night? Or is it locked at his house? Or like, is there even a file?
Yes.
Do you think there's even a file anymore?
There was back when the case, up until I would say up until about a year after Chris took the plea deal, there was definitely a file. I don't know what happened to anything after that. And the same thing goes with any physical evidence that they may have collected up to that point.
So how the medical records are sealed for 100
the blanket, the blanket
years.
Was it CC's that he threw in the dumpster?
Yes, he threw that in the dumpster. But he did, so like the blanket that was out there in the field, I saw you do a video. You think all of that got burned?
Yeah. Well, it was destroyed. I don't know how they destroyed it, but that's normally how the state of Colorado, they have an incinerator for
like the public morgue or some shit like that, right? Where they burn stuff.
And
cremate people who don't have a family.
It's basically an incinerator that they would use for unclaimed bodies that they would take DNA from, hoping to later on match the families, incinerate the body, put the ashes in a box, put them on a shelf. John Doe, Jane Doe, number 151, or whatever the number might be for that, going on, because it's in series. There are an awful lot of people in the state of Colorado that are unclaimed. But anyways, I think they would have loaded it all up into a big box, incinerated it all, and then got rid of the ashes. So
now that's what I wonder, if they've done this with the case files, or if they're
no,
digital, or if
they were
there's
digital. It was 100% digital at that point. I don't know what happened to the physical evidence, so, but I know up until a year after Chris took the plea deal, there was a digital file on the actual case, because I filed so many FOIA requests, which stand for Freedom of Information Act requests on this case, up until a year afterwards, when I finally gave up. I gave up myself because they weren't budging, and I was basically I was butting heads with the Rooshchecks and the Watts. They made it very clear they didn't want this stuff out. They didn't want the pictures of the girls. They didn't want the pictures of Shanann. They didn't want the physical evidence, brought out, and they didn't really want anyone to know what happened to the belongings of the house that they didn't take. But I have that information here because it was leaked later on. But
right, yeah, we know that pretty much the Rooshchecks came and took everything except the toolbox and some trophies and some jerseys.
Purses, clothes, shoes, jewelry.
Yeah, like all of that went to them. They donated a lot of that, they said. I don't know. But I wonder, Will, if there's an actual file, and how does someone, a lot of information to TMZ gets leaked by people that work for companies, right? So this is what my thought is. I almost wonder if there's not a case file digitally of it anymore, because they don't even trust their own employees not to leak information.
So shortly after, before Chris took the plea, the DA O'Rourke, right? Is that how you pronounce his name?
Rourke, yeah.
Rourke, yeah. He accidentally leaked photos. He wanted to release, he sent to the media certain pictures, the pictures of the bra.
The sheet, the bra, the underwear, the shirt.
Yeah. But in that actual release was a PDF file.
Oh my God.
And it was viewable for the first 20 hours, not even 24 hours. You could see it, but it was interview notes that were going from the neighbors, from Nate, Betty, other people up and down the entire street. Have you seen, in the canvassing that was in there? There were notes about where they had gone and talked to businesses, his co-workers, other people who worked with him, photos of a site that they originally thought might have been part of a crime scene was in there. And that was all that was in that file. So obviously that's digital. And there was more digital evidence of the actual burial site, uncovering of Shanann in her grave, the removal of the girls from
there has to be photos of all of that, because they were planning to go to trial. Right. And I'm not saying I want to see them by any means. I don't think anyone wants to see them because they're traumatizing. But
unfortunately, I know this is going to sound sick, but there are a lot of people who want to see them.
Mm-hmm. Of course there are. I get it, because they want it to be real, because they can't imagine it's real too. There's that aspect of it. And then there are some sick, crazy people.
Oh yeah.
Want to see it.
Yeah, they don't want to believe that he was guilty. They still think that he should get an appeal. He should be able to fight this. And nope, no, that's not how it works. But
right. But yeah, it just makes me wonder that, is there actually a digital copy still? Because I imagine they can't even trust their own staffers. Like that DA Rourke probably can't even trust his own personal assistants or secretaries not to break in and look at the files and get 10 grand from TMZ, which seems like nothing, but to someone who has, a $25,000 a year job, 10 grand's a lot to sneak and steal some photos and give them up.
Oh, heck yeah.
And that shit happens all the time.
$5,000 would be
right. That's how TMZ half the time gets their stuff, is from elite staffers. People who work for celebrities who are like, we are going to the Dairy Queen in 10 minutes. Click. Okay, Miss Spears, are you ready to go to Dairy Queen? Get in the car.
I don't want to mention the news outlet, but they're like TMZ.
Yeah.
But they're not. But just about every year, they offer me anywhere from $9,000 to $12,000 for a photo of K-Fed.
Really?
Every year. He comes to my town once a year, and 9 times out of 10, I end up seeing him at a local casino with his entourage, because he married his second wife, not Brittany,
the new one.
Yeah, his new wife is, I'm not going to mention her name. I know who she is, but
the volleyball coach, right?
Yeah, thank you. We're getting closer to doxing her. I don't want to cross.
It's public. It's public.
Yeah, I know, but they want pictures of him and his entourage.
Really?
And I'm like, I have a very I don't want to say I'm not his friend. I'm friendly with him.
Yeah.
He's friendly with me and my friend Tim, and we're the only people we know of that he will allow around him when in the higher stakes room. There. So he's cool with this, I guess. And I'm not gonna go like, hey, boop, selfie.
Right.
$9,000.
I don't know.
I mean, we're all working, for the pennies right now here on doing this, but $9,000 could probably come in handy for something.
I know we're off topic, but I kind of think there's some truth to a lot of the stuff K-Fed is talking about, and they really need to intervene in that woman's life. That's a stream for another day, but
yeah. Brittany needs help in her entire life, but
yeah.
All right, let's question number instant facts first. Research shows that the vast majority of intimate partners violence, IPV, against women is not a one-time occurrence. Roughly 76% of women who were physically assaulted report experiencing multiple assaults by a current partner in the past.
And you brought that up in our last show, and I honestly will never gave any thought to it. And it's something that I think, we should talk about again today, is that Chris probably, like you said, at some point showed his cards to Shanann, and she probably brushed it off and was like, oh, he was drunk that night. Whether he pushed her, shoved her, slapped her, something that had to be some type of something there.
There was some kind of physical contact out of anger. As I always tell every young woman coming of age and starting to date, is if he's willing to raise his hand at you in anger, he's going to do it again.
And you might not survive.
That's just a factual evidence. He thinks so low of you that if he's willing to do it once, he's willing to do it again. It doesn't matter, if he's under the influence, if he, had a stressful day at work, we can all try to um, justify, or downplay the
Excuse the
the experience
behavior.
of what he did. But if it's willing to happen once, it's going to happen again. You may the first time be able to brush it off. It might be years, you might be in the honeymoon phase of your relationship, but it's going to happen again sometime down the road because they've crossed a barrier that is uncrossable.
Yeah.
And once it happens, it's going to happen again. All right. Question 11. What piece of evidence proved to be the most significant and stood out in building a case against Chris Watts?
It wasn't even a piece of evidence. Actually, it wasn't.
What?
The porch interview.
No, that's an interview. It's a piece of evidence.
I mean, it really wasn't a piece of evidence, though, technically.
Think of law enforcement, though. They could use that.
I mean, it was used.
Why did you say this?
I don't think it was intended to be a piece of evidence.
It wasn't intended. That is true.
And if he would have listened to Sandy, shit would have been much different.
Right.
She told him not to do that interview. You were the last person to see them, Chris. Don't do that interview.
Yep. Well, good thing he didn't listen to to her again. Because remember, she didn't want him to marry Shanann either.
Yeah. Both ones. What about you as the most piece of significance for evidence in that?
I always go back to him showing up from his work with Nicole Atkins at the house along with her kids trying to get into the house. And his behavior. I mean, I'm not a detective, I'm not the one that's going to be talking to him later on, but his body language, and even if you're just a little bit alert to posture, mannerisms of an individual, doesn't matter who they are. When they throw their arms up like that, when you ask them a simple question that's so mundane, he could have had an easy snap of a finger reply to. When he throws his arms up like that, it's like, whoa.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we're on a whole other page here. I'm talking to you like I'm trying to investigate a missing persons report. You're like, get away from me, man. Immediately. That it's like you're on one page, I'm on a completely different page. I'm trying to figure out, is this lady who is standing in front of me worried about her friend a nutcase because the missing lady's getting her hair done?
She's bawling her eyes out.
I have no idea what's going on here.
Yeah. And I also find it so interesting too that it took him like 20 minutes. It took him till he saw Nate's TV to be like, oh, by the way, she's pregnant.
Yeah.
Like, all of a sudden, it was like it went from she's just at a friend's house to now all of a sudden he's concerned.
Well, that and Nate pointed out that he's acting weird.
Right. I wonder. I always wondered if
somebody who knows him as casually, like your neighbor. I mean, I always think of like, geez, my neighbor on the left of me is a city cop.
Yeah.
My other neighbor next to him is a city cop. The guy across the street from me is an FBI agent. The guy next to him is a sheriff's officer. And I'm thinking to myself right now, oh my God, what are they talking about me?
They're totally listening to you.
Strange right now. If I just
listening in the van.
I'm gonna go buy like 10 bags of lye and put them in my front yard with a spade shovel.
That sounds like a really good interview, though, too. with the neighbors. You need to have a barbecue live stream.
They're. I'll tell you a story about my neighbor next door later on. He's a great kid, but I call him a kid. He's like 30. All right. Question number 12 is, how can we be so certain after all these years that there is no one else in the driveway giving him instructions on what to do? Well, besides the fact that there's no video footage of it and no one saw the vehicle that night and GPS, I guess there is no real evidence to speak of. We just have to go with what evidence we have. So, and the evidence that there is known that is out there does not point to somebody else off camera going, no, put her head that direction, put Cece there, put Bella there. So, and you don't hear it, you don't see it. So, Nate's camera. Thank God for Nate's camera.
Shit, if we didn't have that, like I said, this whole thing would be totally different.
Yep. All right. Question number 13. Another one for Deadline Crime. All right. Were you working professionally at the time of Chris killing his family? If so, what was your first reaction thought?
Well, and I won't say unfortunately, because I remember, okay, we're talking August? No. I remember I was on vacation and I was at the Weather Channel at the time. And I remember starting there, trying to think of the year I started. I guess it was a year before. Okay. So this is my second year into being at the Weather Channel, working for their website. And we always had this rule that you weren't allowed to take vacation days during hurricane season. And somehow I slipped through the cracks and I was able to take a vacation. So I was on a vacation, totally, just doing my thing. I remember being so relieved to worry more about weather and telling people stories. The most stories I would cover is like people who dealt with hurricane damage. And at the time, the Weather Channel's digital platforms were being really innovative. We were running these Facebook pages that I'm sure no one even remembers anymore, but they were called like Crazimals, where we did animals, and we did a lot of pieces on the environment and things like that. It wasn't just weather, but I remember thinking to myself, I love that I'm in a positive area. I love that I'm not talking about the shooting that happens here in Atlanta next door and this and that and all the negativity. So I remember vaguely seeing this story and it was so disturbing. I didn't dig into it and obsess into it until probably 2019, 2020. So to be totally honest with you, it was just another headline to me and I didn't deep dive. I was in a whole nother world. Does that make sense to you, Will? Like when you get away from the negativity and you're focused on something else, I was like, the environment's important to me now. I don't care about crime. Like, you're just in a different realm. And I was so happy about it too. So, unfortunately, I look at things in a different perspective. And what I hate is that I wish I was at it. I wish I could look at this case the way you do and the way a lot of people do, who they watched it right out of the gate. I meet so many people who tell me, I remember the first time watching the Porch interview. I remember this. I remember that. I just remember hearing about this case. And then after a couple months, I go to the county website and I do my FOIA request and I start doing it that way. And then I work backwards. And then I looked at the news interviews and I was like, oh my God, this dude's guilty.
When the case first broke, I was still working for my friend's chemical company, and the first let's say 6 to 10 videos I did on the Christopher Watts case, I did in the warehouse. On one side of me would be a pallet of fertilizer.
Wow.
And on the other side of me would be a pallet of ammonium nitrate, like crystals. They were like flakes that we mixed in to make other fertilizer. And behind me, I would put up a flag. And that's the only thing I had. It was like I could crop it from here up, video wise on my phone. And I would put a bar, and I took a coat hanger and I bent the coat hanger so it would hold my phone in front of me, and I would have the American flag behind me. But that's how I actually started off making and during talking about the Christopher Watts case.
Shut up. Will, are those still live?
Oh yeah, they're on my channel.
Oh my God, I'm going back into the treasure trove this weekend.
Oh, you want to? All right. So after those first 6 videos, the next dozen plus videos are of me standing in my shower.
Because the audio is really good in there.
The audio sucks, but I had one of those like plastic surround things,
Yeah.
The insert things, the really cheap ones you can buy for like $150, whatever it is, on Home Depot. In my shower. This is a rented house that me and my wife had at the time, and it gave me a white background.
Mm-hmm.
And I brought it down so you can't see the top of my head, because otherwise you'd see the top trim of the actual plastic surround of the shower itself. But I put the tripod on the little bureau thing across from the shower, and it cut the shower rod off, and it cut off the top of my head. But it was just me making videos in the shower talking about, Christopher Watts or other cases. So if you go back to my actual channel to the very beginning.
Another point a lot of people don't get, and I get it, because people will be like, where the hell have you been the whole time? I wasn't, because I was still working for a company, I didn't feel comfortable making videos with my opinion, if that makes sense, or even talking about crime when my name was associated to something that had nothing to do with crime. Like that to me was a no-no that could have got me fired.
Right. Speaking of the Weather Channel, since you mentioned that you worked for the Weather Channel at one point, I voluntarily paid to be a storm chaser for tornadoes. This is
Well, we paid. One thing people don't know is the digital side, though, back in 2018 was owned by IBM. So everything like Jim Cantori did and all the people on TV, I did not have permission to use. This is embarrassing, but I would like send messages on Twitter all day long being like, do I have permission to use your video of the rain in Ohio, in Michigan, in Florida, blah, 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 because we didn't have access to anything but live stream cameras. Yeah. And we would buy very expensive video from a storm chaser named Brett Adair, which maybe you've heard of him before. But the fact that you're telling me you paid, I'm dying. Like, because I'd be paying you $500 for a tornado video.
Every June, from June 1st to June 30th, the end of June, every year. So me and my wife have been married, I think 10 years at this point, somewhere right in there. I would take off the entire month of June, from the 1st to the end of the month, and I'd come back July 1st. And so I was born and raised in Wisconsin, and I would go back home to Wisconsin to check up on. We still have our family farm there. So I'm going to make this as short as possible. But anyways, I would go back there, and I would, visit the family and make sure the farm and all the business and everything else was, done and stuff like that. It'd only take me maybe 3-4 days total max. And then, but I still have my sisters there who were taking care of the place and dealing with it. But I just stopped in to say hi, love you, sisters, and all that shit. But I would take care of business. And then I got like the rest of the month of June to do whatever with. But I would travel around the United States of America from East Coast to West Coast, and I would watch minor league baseball games. That's all I loved. I loved that so much.
Mm-hmm.
Single A, double A, unaffiliated baseball games. That's all I would do. And I'd go to small town America, and I would talk to people, in little diners and stuff like that. I wish I had a camera and a recording and I could record that stuff, because I really had a pulse on America. Now, there was a show that used to be done on another network. I won't mention, to give them credit, but it was Ronald Reagan's son. He did a show like that back then. Pulse on America. Small town America. What are they thinking about?
I know what you're talking about.
Gas, the coming, the price of, soybeans or whatever the hell it might be. What are they dealing with in small town America? You hear the national thing, about like inflation, job, unemployment. But what is really going on in the diners in small town America? And I love that. Baseball, small town America diners. It was the best. But one year, I was in central Iowa, and I stopped in this place, and I saw all these cars that were like decked out like freaking armored vehicles, and I'm like, what the hell's that? And I don't know if you know what this is. A Chevy Aveo.
Yes.
It's a little tiny fucking economy, car. It's only got 2 gerbils that run inside of it, for power. Going uphill, it doesn't get there, but it will eventually, if the wind pushes it enough. But that's what I drove around America. It was dirt cheap. So I see these vehicles. I pull over, and I'm like, hey, what's going on here? And they're like, we're storm chasers, and one guy.
Oh, shit. You got involved with the gang.
And one guy introduces me, tells me, he works for the weather service, or blah, blah, blah. And they're looking at the, these, images and stuff, and they're trying to figure out where the tornado.
The radar, yeah.
And stuff. And I'm like, that is super cool. I'm like, what do you do once you find it? And they're like, we take video of it, and then we upload the videos. And I'm like, wow, that is so cool. Now, this is way before like any of those storm chaser movies that would come out, like in the early 90s, whatever. But yeah, I just it said, well, that's cool. So I got his name. I didn't do it that year. And then it was 2 years later, I was going back that way, and I just on a whim, I was in like Montana or North Dakota at the time, and there was like this horrific flood and snowstorm, and I said, I wonder what these guys are doing. So I texted the guy from my phone, and he's like, oh, we're waiting at here. And I look up on my map. I'm like, I can backtrack like 20 miles. I can take this other freeway down out of this flood and snowstorm that's going on in the Dakotas and Montana and Minnesota, and I can go see what they're doing and hang out with them. Got the same car, and I went, and they're like, "You're an absolute fucking moron for showing up in this little economy box. We are not taking responsibility for you at all. If you want to do this, you're going to have to sign some waivers. You're going to have to pay, for insurance. And that's what I actually paid for, was insurance.
That makes sense.
Yeah. And so it wasn't like I paid the guy like, hey, let me tag along with you.
Right. Like a ride along. Right.
Because in case you get sucked off, by a tornado or a cow hits you or whatever the hell hits you and kills you, it's not on us. So I paid for insurance, and I followed him around for like 2 weeks, and I came damn close, real close to. We hid underneath an underpass, and the tornado went over the top of the freeway and then took a left. But I think it was like an F2. It was like one of the minor ones, and like an F5, but still it touched down. But that's the closest I ever came, besides the ones that messed up everything in my life from growing up. But
wow.
Yeah, that's my experience with the Weather Channel. I know that we're totally off topic.
Yeah, we did. But also the name of the show is Two Journalists and One Monster. So you're going to get sidetracked.
Right. All right. Question number 14. Yeah, for me. You said you hated covering this case. Has your views changed? Just surprised you're covering it. No, my views have not changed.
Because I made him. I begged him. I swear to God, I begged him.
I just thought, and I know I'm absolutely right about this, but me and Jennifer both have a journalistic integrity to get the facts out there, and that's something that has, in all the other. I've been offered to do collaborations with a lot of people over the years, and it's always been one-sided. The other person's either looking for me to boost their their subscriber count because they found someone bigger than themselves, or they have nothing to give to the actual conversation and can't carry a conversation. Even talking to them on the phone or by text, they don't know what to say or where to go. But me and Jennifer, we kind of play off of each other at the same time, so it fits. On top of that, and then, I may not like the Watts case, but we've got a lot more, in the works after this. This is just the starting point. It's something that I know an awful lot about, and she knows a lot about, and we can sit here and talk about this for, the last one was like 3 hours.
Yeah, the last one was literally 3 hours. And I had 2 people will tell me they watched the whole 3 hours. And I'm like, God bless you. And I had more people ownership.
Who you were.
I did beg him. You guys, he did not want anything to do and talk about this case, but it's like I continued to text Will and ask him questions. And yes, we talk about other things, obviously.
We have a lot more in common than that, Sure. And eventually, we're going to get Jennifer on the Taco podcast with my wife.
Yeah.
They have a lot more, just the two of them where they can sit down and talk about life experiences and how they got to where they are today from, where they were before. But that's for another day, another topic. But anyways.
We're also coming up on the anniversary of this case. And I don't know about you, Will, but sometimes when you start to see misinformation, and here's one thing that I love collaborating with you on. Sometimes Will and I don't have the same opinions on things. Like, I know that you and I don't agree on the way we view Cindy Watts, and that's okay. I respect you in your opinions, and you respect me for mine, and we don't bash each other for it.
Nope.
We're coming up on the anniversary of this case, and every time that happens, there's some Yahoo who will take like a soundbite from 2018, 2 days after it, and use that over and over again and start giving misinformation. And I think that there's something inside of anyone who has gone into this background where they're like, nope, I'm not going to have it. Like, I'm going to come out and I'm going to speak the truth and tell you what the truth is, give you the timeline, how it happened and why it happened. So
that sounds like a perfect segue into what I wanted to read next about misinformation, about Shannon's clothing, purses, and everything else, and the value of them, and how much did she really spend on it, and what was it worth after she died, and about Christopher Watts, what he spent, and what was it worth after he murdered his family. So Shannon's clothes and shoes were not directly donated to a specific charity. Instead, her family attempted to clear out her extensive collection, selling them through a local boutique to raise money for charity.
okay.
Although
like consignment, we call that consignment shopping, right?
Yeah. Okay. Although the online backlash ultimately cut that effort short. Shannon's purses, clothes, shoes, jewelry, and had a resale and original value of $26,950 when purchased new. Just under $30,000 worth of shoes, bags, clothes, jewelry, all of it. At the time the consignment center came in, it did an evaluation before they took anything. They valued the entire thing at just over $11,400. That's how much it depreciated, way less than half of the value at the time. Chris's personal clothing, jewelry, sports memorabilia, tools, collectibles, non-sports related, workwear, and gym equipment was originally purchased at just over $41,500. At the time of the murder, and they came in and assessed the value before. This is before the family took anything.
Okay. Because I remember during the prison call, he kept telling his parents, you can have the toolbox. And I'm thinking, Will, what the fuck? That's like $5,000. Who cares? That's nothing. But now I'm getting where you're going with this.
The value of it at the time when they estimated it was just over $5,300. It lost over 70% of its value because resale on tools and collectibles is not, unless it's rare, limited edition kind of stuff. He had a lot of stuff that wasn't worth anything later on. So you might be wanting to know about Cece and Bella. They did not take an accounting of the value of what it was purchased new versus what would it be worth later on. Now, for the items that were left in front of the actual house itself, at the memorial by passerbyers, people who wanted to remember the actual family itself. All of the stuffed animals and things that could be salvaged from the memorial in front of the house, the stuffed animals and stuff were cleaned along with other collectibles, and there were a lot of people apparently who left blankets that looked like, or that the blanket that Cece, and Bella had that were shown in pictures. These items were washed and then given to the Frederick Police Department. They then handed them out to children who were going through what they called stressful situations. Maybe they came to the home and they had to take away dad because dad was doing something illegal. Maybe he was abusing mom or he was abusing another child. They gave these stuffed animals blankets and stuff like that. They repurposed them to donate them after they were washed. The Frederick Police Department did all of this of their own cost. They did not charge anyone, nor did they use actual funds from the police department. It came from what is called the Frederick's Care Fund, which is are funds that are donated to the Frederick Police Department for people who may be temporarily homeless so they can get them into a motel for a night, or maybe they're fleeing a domestic violence situation, get them away from the situation. But they did it of their own free will. So if you're wondering what happened to the items, that after the consignment sale and stuff like that ended, Shanahan's family partnered with this local boutique called Electric on Fifth. That was the name of the store. And after the actual online sale of her actual items was ruined by people who, flooded their website, posted things on different, stay away from the store. They're selling, items of a dead person. There was a lot of negative backlash. They then took the items that the Rooshcheks and the Frank, the Watts family, so Rooshcheks and the Watts family, what they didn't want, they took the furniture and other items from the home and donated them in 3 separate states. They will not say, even to this day. Now, she's since closed her store. I think her daughter died in a car accident. And then after that, she just didn't have the heart to run her consignment business anymore. But last time I checked, she's still around. I'm not going to give her name. But the items went to 3 different states. Her handbags, her purses, stuff like that. And then clothing, stuff that was photographed, that was seen, were separated. So no one could say this pair of shoes was in this photograph with this handbag in the background. Those are Shanahan's. They separated the things completely, so nobody would know between these 3 states. I'm not saying they went to one state and they donated them here, and they went to another state and they donated these items here and these items in another state. They mixed it up to make sure that no one knew and could ever trace it back to where these items actually came from.
That's so much.
There have been several videos online of items that people say, I bought this and it belonged to Shanahan or to Chris or whatever. It's got these 2 initials, CW or SW in it. And now I know it's theirs. Shanahan never put her name in anything because she planned on eventually trading every handbag and every pair of shoes in. That's just the way she always worked. There were certain items, though, that eventually went to Kathleen Jamie Watts. That's Chris's sister, that she sold. She straight ass sold it for money. Now, and she sold these items on eBay knowing that the Watts case was still fresh and people were going to buy it because it was a collectible from the actual murder. You don't want to you don't like that, Kathleen Jamie Watts. Everybody calls you Jamie by your middle name, but you don't like it. Sue the crap out of me. I can prove that you did it because I have the day of the actual screenshots of your listings, and you put your brother's name in every one of them. So I can say that. So
what kind of items? Like the jerseys and stuff?
Yep. The Pittsburgh Steelers jerseys, along with a replica small version of the Lombardi trophy from their last Super Bowl win over the Seahawks. She sold these items, and she purposely put it and tagged her, didn't hashtag, but she did put her brother's name in it, in the description. So
did he know she did this too, do you think?
Does Chris?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure he does. I'm sure he does. Yeah, I mean, they didn't have the best relationship, but yeah, he knew what she was doing. I'm sure of it. Look, everybody's gone. I'm going to be spending the rest of my pathetic life in prison. Do whatever you want with it. All right. with that said, that was a good, segue. Thank you for the, that into that. I was waiting to, find a place to actually read that off. Question number 15. Shanann owned a house before they met. What happened to that house? And now I'm going to be right back.
Yeah, I just looked this up actually on Zillow the other day. Let me see if I can find my search on it. I do believe that she had to sell it for less, but let me look that up. I'm looking at our chat right now. Nicole Atkinson had a deal of harassment. She definitely did. She not recently, she did an interview with me a year ago, and Shanann's family did not like that. And I didn't personally like that, but I'm not going to get into that. Nicole Atkinson recently did a video talking about people that still comment on her comment section or comment on pictures of her kids and bring up the case. And she asked people like, why do you do that? Can you not do that? And also Daily Mail has reached out to her asking her to do an updated interview. And in the stream, she said, I'm thinking about it. So it will be interesting to see if anything comes out. What I'm trying to do here, Will, I was just looking this up this week. I don't know if you have it handy on your desktop, but that house, she originally had to sell it, do kind of more of a short sale with it. Yep. But now I feel like I looked at it this week and it is increased in value.
It has, but she did a short sell on it, but she profited from it because she bought that with her ex, and what she was in for it, they made a split of the business and the actual house, and she got the house, so she actually profited from it.
That freaking house is amazing. Like I
would love to live there, right? Yeah. And okay.
No, Nicole didn't move because of harassment.
That photo, they fixed the porch, the second floor porch.
Oh, did they? They modified it?
Yeah, on the original picture, when they sold it, one of the side railings was like leaning outward.
Oh yeah.
I have a picture of that. So they have fixed it since then.
And the other house, the one that everyone goes to and thinks it's haunted, that has sold twice.
Yeah.
Since it actually sold last year. I was so baffled and actually was like, is this real? That I remember texting the real estate agent and I did not ask if it was the Watts house, but I said, is 2875 Saratoga Trail your listing? And she said, yes. And I said, are you doing an open house? She said, no. I said, okay, thank you. And I left it at that. And I'm pretty sure we all know why there wouldn't be an open house.
Right.
But just to answer this question in chat, Nicole didn't move because of harassment. Nicole moved. I do believe her husband has family. I'm not going to out where she is. She's been public about where she is, but I'm just not going to make it easy for people to be psychos.
I know where she is.
Yeah, she's doing well. She's making new friends. She's happier in a different area than when she was in Colorado. She would say she'd go to a grocery store and she'd see people being like, and that probably gets really fucking annoying after a while.
Oh yeah. And she's in a relationship with a man who's not married.
Who's not married?
He's not married.
She's married.
Now. But okay, so she got together with a guy who wasn't in a married relationship. She had.
Oh, I thought you meant like.
Yeah,
like, right now they're not married. Yes, they're married. Yes.
Yeah, but yeah, she didn't get into a relationship finally at the end with a man who was married, who then divorced and then got married to. No, she got into a relationship with a man who wasn't in a married relationship and then married. I bet maybe that's a better way to put it.
Yeah, and we're talking about Atkinson, by the way, too, just to clarify, because people, we have nicknames, NK, NA, and SW, CW, and all that.
I'm glad Atkins is doing well.
Yeah, I imagine she still struggles and thinks about it every day, and I can't imagine that. I can't imagine just because you're friends with someone that every day your mind goes back to that.
It's hard. I've been there. I had a friend of mine murdered. And that's how I got into YouTube.
Wow.
Me and my friend wanted to go to the parole hearing and fight the release of the man who killed our friend.
Wow.
And I never in my life, I still am, and everybody knows me, I'm surprised that I'm still doing this after 10 years. Is I went online to look up the news articles to refresh my memory about the perpetrator. Not my friend, I remember him. But everywhere I went, everything was at 20 years later after the murder, after you've been in prison for almost 20 years, was locked up in archives. Pay us to read the article archives.
Yeah.
And I absolutely was losing my goddamn mind. And over again, every time, it didn't matter what I searched, it kept the first 3 results on every damn search were YouTube videos. And I'm like, I don't want to watch a YouTube video. And then finally there was one that caught my eye. And I was like, fine, I'm going to watch this one. And I watched it, and it was so filled with lies, inaccuracies, and everything. It even had the wrong middle name for my friend in it. I watched it, and I remember my wife came home from work, and I looked at her and I said, and she was probably better friends with my friend than I was. There was like, it's kind of weird. Is I have a sister that is 4 years younger than me. I was in the service, got done with my years in the Marine Corps, got married, all this stuff, and then got divorced, came back here to where I live, and I started reconnecting not with the friends who I knew who were my age. They were all busy. They had families. They were off and they either moved away, but a lot of my younger sister's friends, people I was friends with, people I knew who I had, mutual friendships with, people that, I did things with throughout high school, elementary, middle school, were still around, and they were still single, and they could hang out. They could come over for a barbecue, whatever. And I started talking and reconnecting with them, and that's how I met my wife. But I told her about what was going on and what I saw, and I had her watch the video, and she's like, "That's not him. They have to be talking about a different person." And I go, "Yeah." But over and over again, they have the perpetrator right. And she's like, "Well, is there anything else on YouTube?" And we pulled up another video. And this one, they had the name right. But they kept on referring to my friend as something that he wasn't. And trying to downplay his actual murder. And I looked at her and I go, I'm going to make a video. I'm going to post it on video, but I don't know how to do it. I had no idea.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have had a clue. Then, and I've never posted a video, never did anything. Even
you're like, I can shoot it, but what do I do with it?
Right?
Do I put it in the VCR?
It wasn't a Motorola flip phone. I think it was a Razor, a Motorola Razor that I had.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how old and how long ago this is, right? You know, back from when dinosaurs were still walking there. But I took the video and I'm like, okay, how do I get it off my phone onto this computer? Didn't know. I mean, I really didn't know. And I go to work and I'd ask people like, do you know anybody that's ever done a YouTube video? And different truck drivers would come in and I'd ask them if they knew anybody. Different vendors would come in. And one day, a guy who used to work there in the factory came in to see another friend and help him with his car. He goes, my son, yeah, he's 17. He posts to YouTube all the time. And I'm like, where's your son at? I need to talk to him. I want to get this video out that I made. And it's still on my phone. I don't know what the hell to do with it. He's like, he'll be here in like 10 minutes. Wow. He showed me how to upload the video completely unedited. I didn't know how to edit. He just showed me on my phone. He's like, you do this, send it here, and then
they didn't have editing on your phone.
Yeah, go into Office and then hit upload, put a title in, and he showed me how to do the whole thing, and boom, it was done. Now, nobody watched it. No one.
Wow.
A year later, nobody. I think it was like I had checked the video out like maybe a dozen times, and there was a dozen hit counts on it, and that was all from me. Nobody watched it. It wasn't private; it was public. I know that part. And I was like, well, the parole hearing had come up, and we lost there, and they paroled this fucking monster, anyways. But nobody wanted to watch the actual truth, of me just talking about my friend, who he bashed his head in with a rock.
Wow.
And he did it all because he believed that my friend was joining the United States Army, and he thought he had $10,000 enlistment bonus and cash on him.
Yeah.
That's not how it works, but he thought he had $10,000 and he wouldn't give it to him. And he wanted that money to move to another city during the grunge, era, and with his girlfriend, and he couldn't get the money out of my friend. So the only thing he had around was a giant rock. Bashed his head in. Now, after all these years, though, we found out the entire. Here's the backstabber. Get ready for it. Another friend of my wife's, who I was friends with, and I served in the military with her brother the entire time that we fought that parole and his release and everything else. She was writing him letters, and the day after he got out of prison, she married him.
The fuck up, Will.
Yep, and they're married to this day.
No way. That's some shiesty shit.
Yep, we all we friends of ours. We'd all sit around commiserate about the the loss of our friend and all the bullshit that how we're gonna stop this fucker from ever getting out of prison. And she sat there the entire time and she listened to it and never said a word.
Well, she repeated everything.
Oh yeah, she did, because we found out later on. that she told him everything, because when he got out, he went full force, on social media and everywhere he could, and posted pictures of all the letters and everything else that she wrote him about the conversations that we were having about, him.
That's dirty.
That is, I wouldn't say the ultimate betrayal, but damn close. So, just like Nicole Atkins, years later, where she's still trying to deal with the death of her friend, her close friend, not best friend, but close friend. I would say that I'm here now, 30 plus years removed, still trying to deal with the death of my friend. But without that, without the betrayal, and without nobody watching that video, I wouldn't be here today. Because
that's true.
The fact that nobody watched that video pissed me the hell off.
Well, yeah, of course it would.
Now you got me. Now you have no idea, where I'm going to go from here. All right, we got to move on. Well, otherwise we'll never finish this. 68% of all the homicides by domestic partner are connected to a recent job loss or financial strain on the relationship.
Finances.
Yep. One thing that Shanann talked about on one video that I know for sure, she made a lot of videos private later on, but after she released them, maybe she didn't want Chris to see them or the family or whatever it was. But
right.
She made
we all do that.
Private. But that was one thing that she did, talk about in one of her public videos that she did release on Facebook, was the financial hardship that they were going through and how much stress it put on hers. And Chris, in the interview, said, and talked about one of their hardest, things to deal with was their financial stress. But 68% of all homicides, recent job loss, or financial stress. Question number 16. So the gay relationship Chris supposedly wasn't real. Why would Trent say that? 60 seconds of fame.
Yeah, I think we addressed that last time. It's like, even whether he's just trying to get people to look at his social media page because he designs shirts, whatever. Even bad publicity is publicity. Free advertising.
Well, I mean, I see it all the time, and you will eventually see this yourself if you haven't already at this point. And it works like this. The first conversations you're going to see are, oh, I went to high school with that individual, or I went to school with that individual who committed that crime. And then it's, oh, my sister or my brother was friends with that individual. And then after that was my sister, or my sister is one of the victims of that person.
Yes.
They're looking for their 60 seconds of fame. They're looking for someone to reply to them and say, and validate them to something that is bigger than their own life story.
So, I have a question for you, Will, in regards to Nicole Kessinger's father. So I obviously tried to do a deep dive on Nicole Kessinger when I started doing this story. And, I found that I already explained I will not do a video with the Aurora mugshot, just because I signed my name, that I wouldn't profit off of it, blah, 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 blah. Right. I guess I could make a video and not monetize it, but I just am not going to do that. Okay. So I was able to find about that whole stabbing incident thing. How come there are not a lot of people who come forth? And I want to say this, I know I'm not saying it's a good source of information, but it's kind of a good source. There's not a lot of stories on Reddit about people who know Nicole Kessinger or went to high school with Nicole Kessinger. Can you tell me if this was a strategic plan on the family's part to reach out to people and pretty much tell them to keep their mouth shut?
Nope. It was daddy. Daddy all the way. All right. So after
you get what I'm saying, right? Like, is this woman that scary that
nope.
you had fifth grade biology? I don't think fifth graders even do biology. You get what I'm saying here, right?
Oh, yeah.
A classmate. Why isn't there a classmate who has come forward and said, you know what? I've seen one person who said she was a mean girl. She was not popular, but she was a mean girl, and she was in a clique of more men than girls.
Right.
And that is the best I've been able to find.
Yeah. Daddy. So it comes, daddy is, so after Nicole Kessinger did, make sure that, we understand which Nicole.
Yes.
Nicole
now we're talking about Kessinger.
Nicole Kissinger's dad paid not one, but two different companies after she gave her interview to the Frederick Police Department. The only reason why that interview is still able to be found online is because they cannot scrub a record from the actual police department on their actual website. These two different companies are basically what Hollywood, and a lot of people don't want to admit to this or even know it, but it came out during the Harvey Weinstein, thing a lot, is there are certain companies out there that will go and they will scrub the internet of your existence. They will not only just remove your personal phone number, your social security number, your address from the internet. They go out there and they remove and they pressure companies and different sites from removing your video or your name or anything connected to you. So he paid two different companies to remove anything about her, to remove where she had worked before in Darko. He was on the board of directors. He's a stockholder in Darko at one point. He had not just a minor, investor. He was a significant investor, along with another petroleum company that is still out there to this very day and very active in New Mexico, Colorado, and Wyoming. I'm not going to give their name anyways, but it doesn't matter. He's still out there and very active. And he went through and he found these, not him personally, but these companies did through his outreach, his money, to remove anything. They were able to get a lot of things removed that have been out there, and they came full press on me, threatened me with lawsuits and everything else, and doxing without actually saying they were going to give up my personal information online, but hinting at that for every video that I did on Nicole Kessinger. What did I do? I made them private for a while until the heat got toned down. Then I made them public again, and then I put them private again. I don't know if they're private or public right now, but on my channel. But if you go back to about I'd say maybe a month after the Watts murder case took place, Nicole Kessinger videos are definitely on my channel. I don't know if they're private or public right now. But anyways, I did public records requests, and I found some very interesting things about her afterwards and during, before she, Chris killed his wife and girls, an unborn son, Nico. About her, and she had some troubling behavior, and and I'm talking about before Chris, and then troubling behavior after, where she was involved with another married individual, and then TMZ was following an individual who was connected to the Bernie Madoff scandal, and his son showed up in Aspen, Colorado on a ski trip and Nicole Kessinger was there with that married man in the background, and you can clearly see of all the people who are not wearing hats or goggles. There's like 12 people in the photo, and I remember maybe 10. Her and another lady and the guy are the only ones not wearing a hat, goggles, or something where you would positively like, boop, I know that person.
Oh, that's you, yeah.
And TMZ had that, and they asked her, "Why are you here?" In the actual video interview. They were trying to get information from the billionaire's or millionaire's son, but they asked her because they recognized her, and they're like, "Hey, why are you here?" And she just said, "I'm here skiing with a group of friends." There's no way shortly thereafter she went from hanging, working in Darko to be, hobnobbing, with millionaires and elites in, Aspen, Colorado. But maybe she did through her, connection through her dad. So.
Yeah. Or maybe she always had those connections. So do you think that he is still paying these companies to scrub? Because there's creators who do videos on her daily.
I don't think he is anymore. I think he just wanted to give her like a fresh break, and and shortly thereafter she changed her name and she moved, and I know where she is. It wasn't that hard if you know the family dynamic and where they come from, and that's how I found her, was going back through dad and following his social media footprint. And then that led me to where, the rest of the family is. And then I found a Facebook page or something like that. And, I was like, ding, there she is, that way. That's sometimes you have to do that. Maybe you're after the individual itself. You're trying to track this person, but everybody leaves a footprint somewhere.
Yes.
It doesn't matter. Maybe it's your neighbor next door, who's taking a selfie, and he had, in the background there's a car that's like, you have a very distinct car color or whatever, model, whatever, like ding.
Yeah.
It could be something as mundane as that. But
I'm not going to dox. It's a cousin, and it is not the cousin who did that dumb phone call. I think you all know which one I'm talking about.
Yeah.
A different cousin, different last name, looks like her damn twin. And I guarantee, I'm sure you know what I'm talking about, but she probably goes into a grocery store every day and gets mistaken for her. She looks that much like her.
Well, not so much anymore. Nicole since colored her hair and cut it, but I don't know what her rest of her family looks like nowadays. But
well, right, since cut it probably since the funeral video, right?
Oh, yeah, most definitely. Yeah. You're talking about the girls' funeral? What funeral?
No, I'm talking about her friend's funeral.
Yeah.
I mean, I have to think she was pissed that got out, and that probably got out by a funeral worker.
Yeah. I don't think that was an intentional, like, somebody was taking it as memorial remembrance.
Because a lot of funerals after COVID got streamed online too. Like the immediate family would go, like 4 people, and then they would stream it so that people didn't.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, we had to have all that social distancing. Unless you were going to be dying yourself, you couldn't go. I mean, I had friends. I watched through plexiglass dying in nursing homes.
Yeah.
And I'm like, they wouldn't let us in to even say goodbye, to hold their hand for even a moment, and they're on their deathbeds. They just wheel them up to a window, like area like with plexiglass, and like, sorry.
Yeah, weird times.
At the time, I never want to repeat ever, but yeah, since then, definitely.
I think she probably loved COVID because then she could kind of just continue to wear a mask and blend into the crowd.
Right. It was an antisocial individuals,
Yes.
green.
A paradise for them.
Yeah. All right. Question number 17. What happened to the items such as the blanket he discarded in the dumpster on his way back to the house?
Went to the dump.
Yeah. They eventually incinerated it all. There's no reason, nor do they have the space to keep anything, not just from this case, but from other cases that have been solved, forever. You would need in the state of Colorado, you need a massive, massive warehouse in order to keep anything, and everything from every crime that's already been solved. And so,
and there's also a difference between the stuff in the dumpster was never recovered, right? Like his clothing and what he smothered Cece with was never recovered. But then there is the sheet, the bra, the shirt, those kind of things.
I'm sure that was just the tip of the iceberg of the physical evidence they collected.
Yeah.
But and another note though on the tanks that he dumped the two girls in, he knew that it was less than 2 months from then that those tanks would be drained and had to be certified. So he knew that was it.
Do you think he was planning to get them out himself, or
nope? He didn't. He
just didn't have a plan.
Didn't have a plan. Didn't have the forethought to think about what was going to happen. But yeah, to the evidence that was collected, along with a lot of it, was destroyed. Shannon's car was sold at auction. Chris's truck went back into the fleet, and eventually the entire fleet was upgraded in that aspect. And the house, as we know, has been sold twice.
Yes. And people still drive by it today.
Yep.
I wouldn't be able to deal with that shit.
Question number 18. What does Chris do to make money behind bars now? Also, can they make them work or just sit around and watch TV all day, every day? In the state of Wisconsin, they cannot force them to work. They can sit on their asses and do nothing for the rest of their lives or whatever their time might be. What does Chris Watts do for money? He is a janitor. He is nothing, and he will never be anything more because he is in a segregated housing unit, SHU, with other people who are there for life crimes. Along with, there are a couple people who are former law enforcement in there that I heard. I don't know if they're still there, but other people like him. They're not allowed to mingle within the rest of the penitentiary, nor are they allowed to go out and like mow lawns or do anything else where they would be at risk from the general population at the general within Dodge Correction Center. So their jobs are basically whatever they can find them to do. And Chris cleans and mops the floors in his SHU, along with the hallways, and takes out the trash to a collective area. Not allowed to go outside with the trash thrown in the dumpster. He brings it to an actual area where another inmate later on, after they've cleared all the hallways, then picks it up and then brings it outside to the actual dumpster. So he will never be trusted to the level where he can be anything else. There have been all kinds of things like, he is a paid spiritual advisor. He is not. And in fact, a lot of people within his own housing don't even believe that he's a born again Christian. He just says that anyways to his parents.
Yeah, that's a new act he's playing. Yeah. I spoke with a woman. I don't want to dox her name, but she did do a video. I'll give her first name, Lisa. A lot of people don't know that prison is an intake in Wisconsin. So no matter what you do, you go there and then they decide where they're going to put you based on your crime. So this woman had a person she knew that went there, and she was visiting him and saw Chris Watts there during visitation with his girlfriend. She was reading the Bible, and the way she described this woman, I know that it's her. And also, I matched what my visitation list of Chris Watts was with the date when she did her visitation with this person, and it matches. So there's no reason I doubt her. She also told me they have Pluto TV in there now.
Mm-hmm.
Are you kidding me? He's watching Pluto TV all day long, not just regular TV.
Yep. They also have, as of 2024, have expanded access to the prison library.
And they got tablets too. I don't know if he has a tablet.
Yeah, that gave them the extended access to the tablets was through the prison library.
That's so screwed up.
Yeah, he can pay additional to put airtime on usage on these tablets so he can FaceTime his parents or anybody else.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be the parents. It has to be somebody from the approved visitation list.
Yeah. I feel like the communication has definitely died down with the parents. They haven't, from what I've seen, they haven't gone in 2-3 years. And I don't know if that's because of physical health or because they are actually distancing themselves.
I think it's more the distance itself from their house to him, along with the health and age, money. So I highly doubt Ronnie is gonna do everything he can to go see Chris where he knows he's going to be 8 months or 80 years from now. So Chris will eventually die, and then somebody will either have to accept his corpse, or he'll be buried by a number, not a name, just a number. His prison ID number, the last 4 digits of his prison ID number, he'll be buried.
Well, also, one day his parents are going to pass, and Jamie is all he's going to have left. And from what I've looked at, she hasn't come visit him since Colorado. So,
yeah, they never had a. I mean, growing up, they didn't have a close relationship.
Right. She was popular. She was like bubbly and cool, and he was. Yeah. From what they say, he was a dork. He was quiet. He was nerdy.
And whatever he could actually accomplish in his life, he lied about it and made it sound like he had. Question number 19, deadline crime. Last one for you. Okay. If you could share one journalistic lesson with an aspiring detectives or a true crime enthusiast based on this case, what would it be?
The best thing I can give, and it doesn't even have to do with this case, is do your own research. And like I just gave an example early on in the stream, even reading news media articles may not give you the truth. Even requesting FOIAs may not give you the full truth.
Yeah, that is very true.
My best advice would be to go to the source. Sometimes that pisses the source off, but at least you did your due diligence and you can say, hey, I tried.
Did you in your professional career, did you ever have to do interviews?
Yeah.
With individuals? So, I mean, you knew and you learned obviously through school and on the job as well, is to never ask a confrontational question, and what I'm getting at. You never want to piss the person off that you're actually trying to get the information from. You want them to tell you the story. So,
right.
I mean,
there's been situations where, you know, you use the term, you get more bees with honey, you know
right.
that term. I did a lot more entertainment, celebrity type interviews, which was great for me because I got to the point where I don't get starstruck. I don't. Everyone's a person to me.
Is there anybody here who from 411 now? She talked to Pauly Shore.
Oh yeah, Pauly Shore. Yeah, he was really cool.
Gotta see the.
I was thinking about that last night. Actually, if there was one person who I would actually be starstruck by, it would probably be Steven Spielberg.
Yeah.
I saw a picture of him the other day and I go, actually, I don't even know what I would say to him. But when you talk about Will, also, you don't want to piss people off. But then there was a station I worked with, and our entire gimmick was tough questions.
Yeah.
And I got the chance a couple times to go. I was mainly doing digital stuff, but I got the chance to go out there and shoot videos, you know, in the field. They call in the field like going outside the building. That's what they called it. I got the chance and I really wanted to prove myself. So I would be like a pit bull and I would go at it and I didn't care well if I pissed people off. Like I remember I went up, we were at like a very fancy, not a fancy event, like a very friendly event. And the mayor was there here in Atlanta and we were having issues with the tax returns. And I just went up to him and I was like, can I talk to you for a minute in the hall and get a sound bite? And he's like, yeah, sure. And then immediately I went into, you know, and it was like, I didn't care though. But there's a time and a place for it.
Oh, yeah.
When you want information, it's better to be kinder, to be nice, to lead with a compliment. It's kindness matters. But just overall, that it would be to ask questions. Never stop asking questions.
If anybody out there, you know, that ever finds themselves in front of a camera from, you know, a TV station or something like that, there are ways to approach someone and ask them questions. You don't want to lead them. You don't want to interrupt them. You don't want to, but you know, you have to narrow the scope down. You don't want to piss them off. You want them to answer the question, but you don't want them to, you know, be defensive or think that you're, you know, necessarily, you know, their new buddy, you know, in a lot of situations. You want to talk to them. You want to get the information out of them. But I've been there. So this one was for you, and obviously question 20 is for me. And same thing. If I had one thing to tell aspiring detectives or true crime enthusiasts, is always, again, not just question, you know, your source, but question anyone else that is associated. What is their motive in wanting to come forward? There are people who want that 60 seconds of fame. There are people who want to be, you know, along that line. They want to be bigger than their own lives. But there are people who have a motivation to want to misdirect, and you have to be ready for that. That look, if you might, the car accident that you might be on as an example, you might have video of the two drivers and the two cars, but they're going to tell you and they're going to misdirect you on something completely different. You know, the traffic light wasn't working right, you know, whatever it is, you know, it been going from red to green and never to yellow. And that's how the accident happened. And there's no actual intersection at all involved in the story.
Yeah.
But they want to focus on something completely different, and because they have a grudge against the city or whatever it might be, but that happens a lot. Always question not only the main source of the story, but question who is the secondary in the reporting and the information you're going to get. Interesting fact, 77% of all the women between the ages of 18 and 38 report physical abuse and controlling behavior by the abuser in the months prior to them trying to kill them.
Damn.
Like I said, if they're willing to raise their hand against you in violence once, they're willing to go farther, and they're going to do it again. If you are in a unsafe, or abusive relationship, you can reach out. There is help. Hope is a very powerful weapon against abuse. And you can call 1-800-799-SAFE or just text 88788 and they will respond back. There are groups all over the lower 48 and Hawaii and Alaska that this number and both of these numbers will respond to. So it doesn't matter where you are in the United States. Doesn't matter if it's 3 o'clock in the morning or 11 o'clock in the afternoon. They will respond.
Yeah.
If anybody has a question, it's now the time to ask it.
It's now or never.
And if you want to follow and subscribe to either one of our channels, there is the clickable link if you're watching this now or later to either one of our channels. References to all of the statistics I gave on domestic violence tonight. Don't take my word for it. Like I said, don't take just the name, the person's information.
Do your damn research.
Right there is the National Institute of Health is the first one. The next one is the Chester Center for Domestic Violence Study, the world's largest study on domestic violence and domestic violence in intimate partner relationships. And then if you're in the UK, you can click that link right now. Not only will it give you the information on domestic partnership, but you will see in the upper right-hand corner a clickable link if you need help right now today. And that, I clicked on the wrong one.
We did 3 hours again.
But when you're having a great time, you're having a great conversation.
Having fun. I don't care if anyone's even here. I'm having a good time.
Yeah. I care if people are here. I would love for people to have been here from the beginning.
No, you know what I mean. But, I mean, even if like one person was here, I love engaging with the audience. That's why I like doing this. But like I'm saying, even if it was just you and I chatting, thank you for the subscribe. I appreciate that.
So
looking at your camera makes me like I need to get an HD camera. I look like I'm in 1952.
It's amazing. So the camera that
isn't it? Like look at how I'm using a laptop camera, but look at how crystal clear yours is. I'm like wondering, is mine dirty? I don't think it's even that. I think it's literally just the pixels.
What I hate about YouTube is I'm shooting this video in 4K, and I've probably got about $11,000 worth of audio equipment in here, and I either sound pingy, ding, and you hear like background noise, or the video is not clear, and that's all how YouTube then takes the video and then changes it on their end. They'll take my 4K and they'll move it all the way down to, I don't know, 960. I mean, and I look back at some of them and I'm like, really? Now, once you get to over 100,000 subscribers, it's different. But once you're down here in the lonely trenches, they don't care. They're not going to give you the bandwidth of somebody else.
That's crazy.
Yeah. That's YouTube for you, though. They're here to serve those who, that 1 to 5% who will make it over 100,000 subscribers and get some stupid little plaque they can put on their wall.
Do they give you is that what the plaque is when you get to 100,000?
Yeah, the silver one. Silver at 100,000.
I don't even.
Gold at 1 million. And then you get to what? 100 million, you get the ruby. And then I don't know if they have one for like the Mr. Beast and the cutie pies and stuff like that. I think they do. I think they came up with another one after that, diamond or some other, I don't care.
Yeah, I don't even pay attention to them because
I do enough, patting myself on the back, for the work I do. I don't need a trophy. If I need a trophy, I'll go buy one. It says world.
I joke because my husband has Emmys in there. He has like 4 Emmys, and the biggest award to him and to us that we're proud of, like, it's not that I did it, he did the work, but it's an award that a lot of people don't even know is a Peabody Award that he won. And a lot of people are like, wow, what's that?
He just blew my mind with, your husband has 4 Emmys. And he
you want me to go grab one and show you what it looks like?
No, I know what an Emmy looks like. You don't have to, but he has a Peabody. Oh
yeah, he
my
does.
God. Well, I'm talking to royalty over here.
I mean, I didn't work on it. I didn't work on this story.
A Peabody,
but
that's a rare, and that's an award that a lot of journalists will never ever get. So
yeah, it's something that
is
he's very proud of. I mean,
that is amazing.
I always, I'm like, it's a lot of journalists don't even know about it either too. They're so concerned about that winning that Emmy that's all they think about, that it does go higher. It does.
Yeah, I'll never have a an Emmy.
Oh shit! Oh wait.
I've won an award for I don't know what the hell that was called. Something about internet journalism, and I thought it was a joke. I'm serious about this. I won this thing, and my friend actually sent me a picture from the award show itself, and I was a no-show because I thought it was a joke.
Oh shit, that's funny. Okay, so you got something in the mail and you didn't show up.
I didn't. Not only did I not go to the award show, I thought I didn't. I responded to him, and I think I was flippant about the entire thing. And then he showed up because he was getting an award, and he knew it was real, and he told me it was real, and I was like, yeah, whatever. And I never went. And I think they sent it to me, and it's in my house, in the box, in the bureau. This is how far it's moved. It is in, so it's in a box inside of the box that was mailed in. And it's still in the bureau, and that's as far as it's moved. And
well, I challenge you tomorrow to go get the box and put it on the shelf.
I have a Tweety Bird. I can't.
You have room for it.
I could go.
We're gonna like.
It's only like that big, and it's like a. I don't know.
Wow.
It's like I don't know what they call it. Some kind of plastic thing. It's got my name and my channel etched in it.
That's cool, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. The highest thing I ever got was an AP award for our digital work and digital stories when I was at CBS. But he does have a crime talk show.
Right.
Right now.
I actually have two, Tom. The 411's the trivia night on Sundays. That is a show on YouTube. And the now closed down, shut down Saturday morning was a show recurring on YouTube.
But technically, this is now replacing that show because we've gone 6 hours and have done a show called Two Journalists, One Monster.
Right.
And the monster is going to change.
Yeah. I mean, definitely, I didn't even have the opportunity, and 3 months ago, I think it was, is when YouTube sent me email and said that these things that you've been doing for years now they qualify as a show to be promoted on YouTube TV. Would you like to promote these shows on YouTube TV? Trivia was the first one. But here's the crazy part is the viewership on a show does not count in your views on the actual video. So
really?
Yeah. So the first episode of True Crime Trivia was Larry Eiler, the serial killer, was the first episode of the show on YouTube TV. And I had 25, 30, views during the stream and maybe 160, 170 views afterwards. But it had 14,000 during YouTube TV.
Yeah.
And none of those count. And I'm like, why are these not showing up in the actual view count? And I'm like, oh my God, I just made the best trivia night ever. And I thought it was mediocre at best. And I'm like, how is it I'm getting so many views? Because they now the way if you gone into your analytics.
We do. So now I'm curious to go search for it.
In your analytics, you have it tells you how you streamed, webcam, camera. Then it tells you how many views you had, and then how many comments. But it also tells you monetization, how much money you made. Yeah. Well, I have another column after before the monetization, how much I made on the video. It shows SHO, SHO, and then it tells me a number underneath that, how many people are viewing, the episode on the show.
So that means they're watching it from okay, we have a YouTube TV remote where I can watch YouTube TV and then watch YouTube. Right. And when I told you the other day, I was watching you on my television. What I was doing though, is it was I was watching you on my phone, but then it was allowing me to connect my phone to the TV. But you're saying that when you're scrolling, you can see all kinds of stuff on there. So you're saying once you get to a certain point, you could be searchable through YouTube TV's app. That's really cool.
Yeah, both of but I have to take the since I'm no longer doing the Saturday morning show, I have to take that off of. So when you go to, how you list a video underneath different subject titles. All right, yeah. I have a bubble that shows up next to it. So here's all your shows, and then here's all your other videos. And then if I list them in two different places, two different playlists, it automatically shows me the shows first, and then it shows the other ones next to it. So some of the trivia nights are still listed on a playlist on the trivia night, but they're also then there's other ones that are showing up as just a show. They're just rolling this out, and it's confusing.
But the other day when I asked you, instead of stopping your show on Saturday, why don't you re-stream old episodes and just not, I understand why you stopped doing it because it is a lot of time and energy to do this, but why not stream old reruns?
Well, that's what's on there right now is the older episodes on the actual show tab.
But no, I mean, but do you get what I'm saying? Every Saturday morning, you could still re-stream.
Oh, yeah, okay. All right, I see what you're saying. I could.
To continue to monetize from the show tab.
Yeah. I mean, you know,
I know it's not going to make, like a difference, but I mean, just so you don't lose the show status and I just think a lot of the topics and cases you've covered are worth a rerun. Well, so
like you said, I could make this, a show instead.
You don't have to hit a certain amount of
I'd have to look into
hours.
I would have to look into it, to actually give you that answer. But yeah, I know that both of them qualify for the length of time and the number of episodes to become a show, and I made them shows at that point. Now, Larry Eiler's that was the first one that it gave me the option, oldest one in my catalog. Now, Larry Eiler was probably like a month and a half ago, somewhere in there. So I don't know, and I haven't made a lot of like the back issue, episodes available. So if it does show up on YouTube TV, it would be everything from Larry Eiler to the last Sunday, and this coming Sunday would be the next episode, because you have to stick to a time and and the actual show itself. There are rules to it, it's the best way to.
Yeah, I was just really sad when I saw you post that, because I was like, no, don't let it go. And like in my mind, I kept trying to think of like, what are ways what could you do to kind of like change things up? And I was just trying to like brainstorm. But then I was like, well, you could just replay episodes. Like I remember Saved by the Bell was my favorite show growing up, like one of my favorite. And I'm telling you, I probably watched reruns of that show 20 times. And it's like, because you love it, So I was like, he should just run, you set up your restream the way you would, like you were doing the show live every Saturday morning, except you're picking a link to, I don't know, let's say the Casey Anthony verdict. When was that? July 19th of 28? Okay, we're past July 19th. But you get what I mean. You did a show Saturday, and it is the, what year are we on Casey Anthony case now?
Right.
Shit. 2008? Okay, so then you would be like, we're running this episode this Saturday morning on Casey Anthony because it's the anniversary of it.
Well, I mean, I could also take, the back catalog, of those cases, and make them premieres on Saturdays as well. And if it wouldn't qualify as the show, I could do that. But
I think you should, before they like notice you haven't been live the past couple Saturdays, and that because you've only been not live 2 Saturdays, three
now, and this tomorrow will be 4. So I
don't give it up.
I know, right? It's I have such a love-hate relationship with YouTube. I just want to do my own thing, and I mean, trust me, to anybody who hears my voice right now, the money in this has never, ever been a motivation for me to do any of it. If money was the motivation, I got a lot of flack about my posts in the community about why trivia night survived and Saturday mornings was, dead, is I have a supporter who pays to cover the cost of trivia night. She doesn't want to be known. She's always made it.
So
do
cool.
not ever tell anybody who I am or say anything about it at all. Other than she loves the trivia night because she plays it with her granddaughter, and the two of them. It's like something that they really enjoy. It's like a thing.
Yeah.
So, otherwise, it would have been the other way around. The trivia night would have ended, and the Saturday morning would have carried on. Both of them take just as much, time, effort, and ability on my part to put together. But anyways, when it comes to the show, and YouTube and money, I would have given this up a long time ago if it was about the money. I don't make money at this. I do make money. I'm not going to get rich. It's never going to pay for the light bill for this.
Right. Yeah. It doesn't pay bills.
I have close to 37,000 subscribers. You big whoopee. And I've got maybe other avenues, people who support me monthly, Patreon, PayPal, and other things like that. I've probably got maybe another 50, but the money it's never been the motivation. It's still not. I make money in completely different ways that is not connected to this at all. Otherwise, guarantee you, after like month number 1, not year 1, my wife would have put an end to this shit a long time ago. Yeah. I pay the bills in another way, and I pay, and I make enough money to cover the mortgage and everything else every month. Yeah. And I'm happy to take.
Yeah, it's a hobby.
Stress off of the entire, household.
Yes. It takes stress off of it too if you're not like, I have to make this video successful. Like, I'm going to be real with you. I like to bullshit, Will. I like to talk. And then that's why I do this. I think it's fun. I mean, also I do like to have a voice for certain things, whether it's victims, breast cancer, MS, animals, whatever it may be, at that time I'm passionate about. And I was lucky enough to monetize because I really wish when I was working in television, although I don't think it would have been ethical to be doing a YouTube channel while I was working, but like I was lucky enough to get to monetization status to where I'm like, cool, $200 a month. All right, I can put that into printing more books for my kids' books. You know what I mean? But like you said, it's not like you're getting
the Solar Universe. You can buy the book on on Amazon.
Yeah. But it's not like I'm, twiddling my thumbs like, what should I do with my money from YouTube? And there are people out there doing it.
We are at a unique part of in our lives with the universe and the internet right now. And this is something that I am truly, truly scared about when it comes to your children and my son is the influence of the internet on their daily lives.
Yeah. And what's AI and what's real life.
And how fast it's coming and how fast it's taking over with and what message it will be sending them and what they're going to intake. Because it's on YouTube right now. It's on other social media platforms. But eventually it's going to leak out into other avenues of their lives. And I'm scared of where it's going to go next. What are they supposed to believe? After we're both long gone and AI takes this photo of me and makes me say whatever the hell it wants to and makes Jennifer say whatever the hell it wants to and moves it on. or just we're low people on the totem pole. What about the the next person that they decide that they like? Like my son, I don't know if your kids are into the this, but Oliver Tree. You know who Oliver Tree is?
I've heard of it. Yeah.
Oh no, that's him. That's his name, Oliver Tree. He just died, and after this stream, go just put Oliver Tree in your search box and look him up. He's done some really over the top videos, and he does like a lot of 80s colors and pastels, stuff like that. But my son really loves Oliver Tree, and he hasn't even been dead a month now. And there are AI videos that are coming out right now that are remixes of his actual songs and him in the actual videos. And the songs have been changed about from being yourself and being, your own independent warrior for your development in life to sickening kind of things like put your picture out there, kind of things. It's encouraging children to do the wrong thing. And it's bad. And it's like they as fast as they can take them down, more of them pop up, and they just relabel them, and it's along the same line. It's like the adult version of Scooby-Doo. They dress up like Scooby-Doo characters, but it's like basically softcore porn.
Okay. This we had a problem with for a while. Okay. I don't even know what the hell these are. Maybe you guys can tell me what it is. They were watching, and it was on YouTube Kids. We don't let them watch when they do tablets. It's YouTube Kids. Okay. And this was showing up on there, and it was called like Sprunky. Okay. They look like cartoon characters for kids, right? Well, for a couple weeks, we were letting them watch it. And then I looked up on Reddit, and it's not like, here's a great example. It's not for kids. Like this one says, horror Sprunky battle. And it's like probably talking about dying. And you get the gist what I'm talking about here. And it really freaking sucks that you are using these little cartoon characters for adult content.
There are,
and this is just the tip of the iceberg.
There are adult versions of VeggieTales. Do you remember VeggieTales?
Yes. Yeah.
VeggieTales.
Where there's old cartoons.
It is adult content and sexual in nature.
Yeah, and then I noticed there's also. Do you know what ASMR is?
Yeah.
Like sounds tapping.
That's my son. One of my son's favorite things. Gibby.
Well, now you have to watch out for that shit because they're using like models now.
Yeah.
Where it starts out normal, where like she's going like this, and then she starts to take her shirt off, and then she's naked and it's like, why?
Yeah.
Why? And I get it because they're making money off of it, but it really sucks that it's, like I'm sure these cartoons that I just showed you started out normal and then it got sick and twisted.
Is it even made by the original creators anymore? It's like like I was saying about the Scooby-Doo thing. It's not made by by Hanna-Barbera anymore. It's made the cartoon or the live action replay. People dressed up as Scooby-Doo characters. I mean, it has nothing to do with it, but they're doing it anyways because it draws in that fandom of Scooby-Doo who are adults. And then these kids see the thumbnail, and then they're like, "Oh, I love Scooby-Doo," and they click on it, and then and they're where YouTube Kids, there's no comment section. the stuff my son is being, sent, suggestions, on YouTube. I mean, he's supposed to be on YouTube TV, for kids, and this stuff it's trying to get him off of the kids app.
Yeah, it's almost like YouTube is playing into it too.
I'm
like they're letting stuff slide in there on purpose, and they try to say, oh, like I'll report a video. There was a whole space cartoon where, yes, the characters are having fun and talking, but then they would throw a swear word out. Okay, well, a kid on a spectrum, kind of, some of them have echolalia and will start to repeat stuff. Once they get that word, they're stuck on it. So
Baldy's Basics. Baldy's Basics is, crudely animated, it looks like it was made on a Commodore, or a 386 or 486 computer from the 80s. But, and it playing into the Minecraft, and younger teen adult, content. It's not meant for YouTube Kids, but it's on YouTube Kids. And it's violent, it's sexual, and it borders in some of the episodes to racial.
Yeah.
It's like, what in the hell are you watching? I'm like, turn that off. And then that's only when I can catch them.
Right. And it sucks because you don't want to ruin their curiosity and freedom of learning and exploring about the world. But there's I don't need to have a conversation with you at this age about racism, or try to explain what this word means or that word means. And it just sucks. It really sucks. I hope what happens is that, and I know it's not going to happen, but I like to wishfully think that maybe one day it won't be cool to be on the internet anymore. That's not cool. It won't happen though. But I'm really hoping that I'm too cool. I have a flip phone. I don't do smartphones anymore.
And for the part where you said that, YouTube, I think, is playing into it. I think YouTube knows exactly, what's going on. They're just turning a blind eye to it because it's making them money.
Yeah.
It's just like, the here in the true crime, niche, there are those who are out there who will do anything and everything to steal our content, destroy us as an individual, and they will gang up on you in a heartbeat to, belittle you, knock you down, to make you quit while still stealing your content from you.
Yeah. So I remember when I got demonetized, it was like, oh wait, so I'm still here, but yet people are still stealing my content and making money. That doesn't make sense.
I've seen it all over the years. 100% of my video, and then somebody puts a watermark or another thing over mine, and it's like, come on. And they're monetizing it, and they're from Bangladesh, or they're from, someplace else other than where I'm at. Even here in the United States, it's not just a clip; it's the entire. They've recorded the entire conversation, entire video, and they claim it as their own. But
now there's these AI YouTube true crime channels that are really pissing me off, where they can't even say the victim's name right. And they've got more subscribers than both of us put together. And it's like, they said, Shanae Watts. And it's like, how disrespectful, first of all, to the victims. And YouTube just lets it slide.
Well, I mean, that's how I was using U.S. crime trivia. The company, they're the ones that supply trivia to pubs. You know, they have like a little base unit where people play trivia and stuff, you know, in bars and pubs. That's the name of the company. They go by different names. So, you know, when it comes to, you know, retail wise, they have different name like, you know, Pub Triv and stuff like that. That's how they sell their actual product to these different places. But I was doing a video on, you know, trivia night on Christopher Watts and what's going on trivia with him, or maybe it was about what's for dinner, you know, Chris, or something like that in that series.
You mean Watts
Chris,
for dinner?
Yeah, well, what's for dinner, Chris Watts.
And that's when I found your channel and I realized, I was like, oh my God, I'm like, this is my person.
But they kept on citing that Christopher Watts was once a police officer.
Shut up.
And the first time I saw that pop up, I reported it to them. And then they sent me like one of these canned email replies back like, oh, thank you for bringing this to our attention. And then I said, okay, I'm done with that. And then I went on. And then later on, it popped up again. Not that he was a police officer, but it touted him as having a completely different profession before he became an auto mechanic, that he played in minor league baseball. And I'm like, what no.
Where do you even get this
from?
from?
And I'm like, it's AI. The whole thing is AI.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, they say AI sometimes hallucinates, so, you know, the little things here and there. And this company was taking that and putting it out there. How many times these questions pop up in pub trivia where someone's like, what the hell did he do before he was an auto mechanic? You know, what did he do when he first met, you know, Shanann, you know, or whatever it might have been, you know, and it said that he was a minor league baseball player or something like that. Or what did he do when he moved to Colorado? He was a police officer, or whatever you know, however that version would have changed later on. Somebody would have to sit there like, I paid to play this stupid thing.
Yes.
You know, and then they take that in as a fact. They're like, oh, I saw it in trivia last night. Chris Watts was a police officer in Colorado.
Yeah. And they're like, yes, he was. I saw it. It was written in the trivia. It's true.
Yeah. So they believe this stuff.
So it's got to be true.
And that was when I cut my ties with them completely. I said, no.
Yeah.
Refund me back, you know, my subscription to this. I am not trusting anything. And then I had to go back through my entire catalog of like the years prior that I've been using them. And I found 3 other errors that I let leak out that I had on trivia, where other sites, because I keep notes in references to go back to each and every question, you know, where they come from and where I got the information. Other sites had taken their information and put it in their sites as actual facts. So when I double checked each and every question, like I do every week,
right?
Oh my God, these other sites were citing back their factual information back to this same place. And I was like, nope, that's it. I'm done. So now I have to do it all myself all again. But
that's why I always, even in the chat, mention to people that you don't just go into Chat GPT and come up with your trivia every day. That's not how it works. And
God, that'd be so much easier.
Sure it would. And yes, you could still do that, but it's the fact that, like, I like to tell people, it's like, he doesn't just do that. He actually researches.
No, I'm constantly working on 3 different trivia nights at the same time.
Yeah.
And as I come across interesting, you know, little tidbits here and there about, you know, whatever, and if it fits in to one of the 3, you know, that I'm researching or doing trivia on, then I add it. So, you know, like right now I've got 1 that's done, and I got 2 that I have like 10, 12 questions. And then as soon as I do this coming Sundays, I'll add another one to, you know, the cycle. Some of them get done faster because I just find more information about them, and others take 2-3 months to complete 20 questions on. Oh, that's just the way it goes.
Well, I'm tired now, guys.
Yeah, we should wrap this up.
Yeah, we did an extra half-hour bonus. bonus.
So to everybody who may be still listening out there, it says there's 8 here and 12 on Facebook, so 20 total right now. If you're listening to this, write this time down.
Yeah.
9 p.m. Eastern time, 6 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. And note that down on your calendar for Fridays. I don't know which one we're going to do next Friday, but we're going to do another one next Friday. So put that down. It will not be on Christopher Watts and the Watts murders. Okay.
Yeah.
So
now I'm eager to look again at the Casey Anthony situation because I remember covering that in the summer, and I know there was something in July, but now I got to go look at the dates, but we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
But yeah, keep in mind Fridays,
yep.
9 p.m. once the kids are sleeping.
Yeah. All right, everyone. Thank you again.
Right. Thank you, Will, for having me again.
Oh, not a problem. We'll see everyone next Friday. Same time,
okay,
same
see you guys.
In the meantime, you take care. Bye.
Bye.